to be writing a stories for that, but next we are going to be writing a unit test for our card component. I want you to bear with me for a second because we are now about to write a lot of unit test case. So I'm gonna go into this components folder which is now available inside the test, and we are going to be creating yet another file for the card.test.tsx. And now inside there, let's get into it, baby. We're going to be importing React.js from the React. We would also need to import the render and also the screen from where? From the testing library React.js. Underneath there, we're going to be also importing the card component. Save this file, and we are going to be using a describe for the, and let's just describe there right here. So like card component, and remove that second from there. Save this file, go in there. Now we are going to be using like it. Okay, so it's not importing. So it should, come on, it should render with default renders will be fine. So it renders with default props, and here we are going to be passing our arrow function and use our render method right here. Pass our card and default card right here. Underneath we are going to be getting there right now, so I'll just use like screen get by text. We are now going to be getting our item by using this regex right here. If you guys don't know what a regex is, you don't even have to worry about that, but basically we are now searching for this default card content right here. Okay, so we don't care if that's uppercase or lowercase, but if you found this content, gives us that. And now we are going to be storing that inside the const card element, and it's going to be equals to this screen. Now we are going to be providing our expectation like card element, and we want that to be in the document. And also let's just provide another expectation for the card element once again, and we want that to have the class names. And let's just provide the width, and the width will be set to 80 and the height will be set to 60. And also I'm going to provide expectation once again for the card element, and now I'm going to select to have the class names of shadow of medium. I'm going to also provide yet another expectation for the card element, and we will select to have the class names and border gray of 300 like so. Now let me just save my file, test this out. So let's just go there. Here you can see we have our card test, and which is now successfully passing, and everything is working the way we expect him to work. So I'm gonna hide there. Now let me just write another unit test. So I'll use like it applies large size class. So now we are going to be also testing the large size class. So we would have to render our card component first of all. So I'll use like card component, and I'm gonna say like large card, and here we're going to be also providing a size of large today. And now underneath there we are going to be getting there. So I'll use like screen dot get by text, and I'll just provide like large card and provide my I right there. Okay, so we are going to be using like card element, and it's going to be equals to this screen object. So now let's just provide our expectation like card element, and here we want that to have the class names of width will be now set to like 96, and height will be also set to 72. There we go. Now let's just save our file and check this out. So here you can see this test is also passing. Let's just duplicate that right here, and now we are going to be changing like applies. I'm gonna change this to like applies no shadow when shadow is none. Okay, so we are not going to be providing any shadow today, and in this situation we are going to be removing that and provide my shadow, and shadow will be set to none. And I'm going to also change that to like no shadow. Copy there from there, place that right here, and we want that to have the class names of shadow. Oh my god, shadow none, because we don't want to provide any shadows when the shadow is set to none. Check this out, test is passing. Cool. I'm going to hide this one, hide that one, and now underneath this it, we're going to be also duplicating there once again. So I'm going to just duplicate there and change the message of that to like applies large shadow in this case. So I'm going to change that to like apply large shadow when shadow is LG for the large one, and it should be shadow. There we go. Inside there we are going to be changing that to like LG, and this should apply the large shadow card. I'm gonna copy the content of there and place that right here, and this one should have the shadow of totally large. I'm gonna save this file right now, and here you can see our test is now successfully passing. So I'm gonna have to collapse the other one and these tests are now successfully passing. And what about if we don't specify any borders today? So I'm going to duplicate there, and now let's just take care of that. So here we are going to be saying like applies no border when border is set to none. Okay, so in this case we are going to be just removing there and provide my border, and border will be set to none, and I am going to just say like no border card or something like that. I'm gonna copy the content of there and place it right here, and here let's just change that to like border none. I'm gonna save this file right now. Okay, so it is failing. I don't know why, but it is, oh, that's because it's not a shadow, it's a border. And now let me just test this out once again, and here you can see it is now successfully passing. I'm going to hide there and duplicate there one more time, and now we are going to be checking for the rounded border. So like applies rounded border when border is rounded. Okay, and here let's just paste that right here. I'm gonna just change that to like border rounded, and change this one to a rounded border card. There we go. And here we are going to be also changing that to like rounded border card. So I'm gonna write like rounded border, and let's just also change these class names to like border 2, border gray of 300, and rounded totally LG for the large border, and test this out. So here you can see all of our tests are now successfully passing, and that's totally done. I'm going to once again duplicate that, and now we are going to be checking for the custom class names, like can we even provide a custom class names or not. So I'll just write like applies additional 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 custom class name. Okay, so I'll have to change that to the class names, like can we even provide a custom class names or not. So I'll just write like custom class and change that to like, I don't know, maybe custom class card or something like that. I'm gonna copy that from there, and now let me just replace that with this new content. Here we are going to be also changing this value to custom class right here. Now let me just save my file, and here you can see our test is passing, which means like we can also apply our custom styling for our card. I'm gonna duplicate that one more time, and now we are going to be checking like can we even also provide our own children or not. So I'll just write like it should render children correctly, or Bruce Lee, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to just remove that and change that to like card, and here we are going to be passing like a dev and child content or something like that, and I'm gonna save this file right now. And here we're going to be searching for the child content. So child oh my god, child. So we are going to be searching for a child content. God damn it, we are not going to be searching for a child content, but we are going to be searching for the child element content. So let's space for a child content, and it should also be a child content right here. I'm gonna copy them and place there, and we want that to be in the document and execute them. And here you can see it should also renders the children's correctly like so, which is looking cool. And now we are going to be writing the final test, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. Use the it once again, and it applies correct combination of size, shadow, and border props. Okay, so here we are going to be providing a correct one. So that's going to be basically the last what do we call it, the last unit test. So now let's just use our render test our card inside there, and I'm going to say like combined props card, and here we are going to be using like size, and size will be set to large. We would also provide the shadow, and the shadow will be set to SM for the smaller one. This is provide our border, and border will be set to totally solid. So now we are testing like can we even provide all of them at once or not. So let me just get the, I'll use like screen get by text and paste my combined. It should be combined, and close there, provide I combined props card right here. Okay, I'm gonna also store the inside the card element. It's gonna be equals to this get by screen content. Provide my expectation right here, the card element, and we want that to have the class name, not value, but to have the class names of width will be set to 96, and the height will be set to 72. And now underneath I'm gonna just duplicate that like 3 times, and here we are going to be providing like shadow will be set to totally small, and we are going to be also providing a border of totally gray. Come on, gray 300 like so. I'm gonna save this file right now, and that was it about forward component. Oh, I forgot to show you this one. So now let me just refresh there, and here you can see all of our tests are now successfully passing, and everything is working the way we expect them to work. And this is how we are going to be creating our card component. This is how we are going to be exporting there. This is how we are going to be visually writing a stories for our components. And this is how we are going to be testing our component. Alright, so now it's time to build another component, which will be a date picker component. So I'll just go ahead and write a date picker. There we go. And now inside there, we're going to be creating two files. The first one will be for the index.tsx, and the second one will be date picker.tsx. So now let's get into the first one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to import React.js from the React, and also we would need to import the CVA from the component or class variance authority. We would also need to import the TW merge from the Tailwind merge. And now let's just use our component like so. This component will take a few props, so we are going to be providing a size, color, and selected, selected selected date, and also the on change event handler. Now we are going to be also creating an interface for that, which will be a date picker props. I'm going to copy a name of that, and here let's just define our interface, which will be our date picker props. And I'm going to paste the size, which will be totally optional, and the sizes can be like small size or medium size or large size or extra large size like so. Okay, we are going to be also providing a color, which will be also totally optional, and the color can be either primary color or a secondary color or a danger color. Okay, we are going to be also providing the selected date, and that's going to be set to a string. And also when somebody change there, so on change event handler, we are going to be firing this function, which will take a date as a parameter, and there's going to be a string, and we are going to be returning a void from there. So I'll just use like void like so. Now let me just save my file. Now let me just go to the top, and here let's just define our class variance authority. So I'll use like date picker styles, and it's going to be equals to CVA, and let's just provide our base class. Like the class will be set to relative, block width will be set to totally full, text totally gray of 700, 700 like so, border and rounded totally large, focus state will be set to outline and none. On the focus state, the ring will be set to 2, and on the focus state once again, FOCUS, on the focus state once again, we are going to be providing a ring of blue 400. That's totally done. We are going to be also providing our optional object, and here inside there, let's just pass our variants. So VARIANTS, and for each variance, we are going to be providing a size. And for this size, let's just provide like a few sizes like small, medium, large, and so on and so forth. So for the smaller size, the padding on the y-axis will be set to 1, padding on the x-axis will be set to 2, text will be set to totally small. And on the medium screen size, we are going to be providing pairing for the y-axis of 2, pairing for the x-axis of 3, and text will be set to totally base. And I'm going to also provide the large one. So for the large screen size, pairing on the y-axis will be set to 3, pairing for the x-axis will be set to 4, text will be set to totally large. For the extra large screen, pairing on the y-axis will be set to 4, pairing for the x-axis will be set to 5, text will be set to extra large. Now let me just save my file, and now underneath these sizes, we are going to be providing a color, and the color will be set to primary. For the primary color, border will be set to blue 500. I'm going to also provide a secondary, and the secondary color will be we have to provide a comma there, and the secondary color will be border green 500. And I'm going to also provide the danger one. So for the danger, border will be set to totally red of 500. Now let me just save this file right now. So that's going to be it for our variants. Now let me also provide a default variants, like the default value for each variant. So I'll just provide a size, and size will be set to medium. I'm going to also provide the color, and color will be set to primary. Save this file, and now our date picker styling are totally done. I'm going to collapse that right here. Now let me go ahead and go to my component. I'm going to just remove that from there. And here inside the, let me just provide like the class name of relative. And inside this div, we are going to be providing our input field, which will take the type of date, because we are now building a date picker. And now we are going to be providing a value, and value will be coming from the date, which we are going to be defining in a few seconds. And when somebody try to change that, then we want to fire this function, which is a handle change, and we are going to be also building that in a few seconds. Now for the class names, we are going to be using our Tailwind merge. So let's just use like TW merge, and we are going to be passing our date picker styles, which we just defined a few seconds ago. And here we are going to be destructuring the size, like we are going to be providing the size and the color. Now let me just save there, and this size and color is now coming from these props right here. And now let me just take care of this date and also this handle change. I'm gonna go to the top right here, and here we're going to be defining our date. So const date and then set date is going to be equals to the use date, and the initial value will be set to selected date, which we are now taking as a parameter right here. And now let me copy the name of this handle change and define this function right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just define like handle change function. It's going to take the event, and now we are going to be annotating the as a react change event, and let's just annotate there with the HTML input element, because we are going to be using there on the HTML input element. Okay, so now inside there we are going to be getting like event.target.value, and now let's just store that inside the new date, and it's going to be equals to this event.target.value. And here let me just use like set date and new date. And also when somebody tried to change this, so we are going to be passing like a new date right here in this case. Now let me just save my file, and that was it about how we are going to be building our date picker component. But now let's test there by using the storybook and also the vtest. Oh, and I also forgot to go into this index.tsx, and I'm going to be using like export and then default from where, from the date picker, which is a date picker. And now let me just save my file. If I hold control and click on there, it's gonna bring us to this component, which means like everything is working the way we expect them to work. Now let me just go into the stories and create a new story right here. So I'll just give it the name of like date picker.stories.tsx. And here we are going to be first of all importing the React from the React.js. We also have to import the type, and we are going to be getting the meta and story object from where, from the testing library, not testing library, but from the storybook, and then React.js. There we go. And we would also need to import the date picker component so that we can see there. I'm going to define my meta right here, so let's just use the meta, and I'm going to annotate there with this meta, and the type of will be set to date picker, and close there like so. And it's going to be equals to this object, provide my title inside there, and provide like components, and then date picker like so. I'm going to also provide the component right here. It should be equals to a date picker, picker. For the perimeters, we are going to be providing like the layout, and once again we are going to be making the as a totally centered. And I'm going to also provide the tags, and the tags will be set to auto docs. Now let me just save my file, go underneath there, and I'm going to export there right here. So export default of meta, and that's going to be fine. Now let me also define my story. So I'll use like story and then story object, and provide my type of meta, and close there like so. Now let me use export const default, and here we have to pass our story inside there. And I'm going to provide like arguments, and for each arguments we are going to be providing a selected date, and I'll just provide like some random date like 2025 third month and the first date or something like that. And whenever somebody change this, in this situation we are going to be using like date, and we are going to be passing this function which will be taking a date as a parameter, and we are going to be just logging to the console that specific date right here. So now let's just save our file. We are already running our storybook, but we have to stop there and rerun there. Now let me go ahead and just refresh there, and here you can see we are now getting our date picker, and yep, it is looking cool. So we can change that to like a medium one, we can change that to large, we can change that to extra large or small. Okay, we can change the color of that to like primary, which is the default color. We can also change that to the secondary, and also to the danger color. Cool. So everything is working the way we expect him to work. Now we have to write a few more stories for there. I guess I'm going to be just writing like 2 stories. So I'll just go ahead and define like export const with custom, with custom size. So like, can we even provide our own custom size or not? Yes, of course we can. Okay, so now let's just provide like arguments and use the selected date. And here I'm going to set that to like 2025, and the third month of 2025. I'm going to use like 03, and the first date of 2025 on change event handler, and we are going to be writing like date, annotate the as a string, and once again we are going to be logging to the console that date. I'm going to also provide the size right here. So for the size, we are going to be providing a small size, and now if I click on there, here you can see we are now getting our small size date picker, which is also looking cool. Okay, that's totally done. Now let me provide the final story, so which will be for the with custom color, and we are going to be using a story. It's going to be equals to this object. So for the arguments, let's just use the selected date and provide like 2025 and 03 for the month and 01 for the date. On change event handler is going to take the date and return a string to us. Now we are going to be only logging to the console their date, and I'm going to also provide the color, and the color will be set to secondary, but I'm going to have to provide my comma there. This is how we are going to be providing a color. And yep, our date picker is working the way we expect him to work. So this is how we are going to be writing a custom stories for our date picker, but we are going to be also testing there by using the React testing library and vtest. I'm to write a unit test for our component, so I'm gonna go there and create a new file with the name of datepicker.test.tsx. And inside there, the first thing that we have to do is that we have to grab the React from the React.js. Then we have to import render screen fire event from where? From the add testing library React.js. Now we would also need our component like a date picker component, and that's all. Now let's just describe our test suite. So describe, and I'm gonna say like date picker component or something like that. Now I'm gonna go there. Let's just provide our first test suite like it should render correctly with initial date. INITIAL initial date. There we go. And I'm going to be passing my arrow functions to there. Just pass the arrow function, and inside this arrow function we are going to be getting a handle change function. So I'll use like handle change, and it's going to be equals to this vi, and then if I hit enter, so it's going to import that right here. It is not, so I'm going to have to do that manually. So I'll just import the vi from where? From the vtest. Okay, so now let me just save my file vi.fn for the function. And now underneath there we are going to be rendering our function or component like date picker component, and I'm going to close there like this. And we are going to be also providing a selected date today, so I'll just pass like 2025 and third month and the first date like 01 like so. And we are going to be also passing the on change event handler today, so let's just pass that right here. So that's totally done. Now we are going to be getting our input field by using screen get by display value, and we are going to be passing like 2025 01 and then 0 not 1 but 03 and 1. I'm going to store that inside the inputs variable like so, and I'm going to provide my expectation like input, and we want it to be in the document, and I'm going to execute that right here. It should be just an input. So now let me save my file, and our tests are successfully passing, and this is how it looks like. So I'm going to collapse there. Now let me go to the date picker, and all of the tests are now successfully passing, and which means like everything is working the way we expect them to work. And now underneath that, let's just write a last test suite for this. So like it should call the on change when the date is selected like so. And we are going to be passing our arrow function today. First of all, we have to mark our function, so I'll just use like handle change. It's going to be equals to like vi and then fn, and now we have to render our component, which will be a date picker component, and I'm going to close it like so. I'm going to be passing like the selected date, and here let me just pass the selected date like 2025 and the third month and the first date. And when somebody change this, we are going to be firing like handle change function right here. Now underneath there, first of all, we have to get our input field, so I'm going to be using like screen get by display value, and I'm going to paste like 2025 and 03 and then 01 for the day. Now I'll just store the inside the input once again, save my file, and now we are going to be using that fire event. Okay, so whenever somebody try to type something inside this input field, so in this situation we are going to be getting the target, and now we are going to be providing a value today, and that value will be like 2025 and then 03 and then 0. I'm going to change that to like 2, or you know what, I'm going to change this one to like maybe 4th month in this case. And let's just pass our expectation like handle change, and we want that to have been called with this one like 2025 04 and then -2. Okay, so now let me just save my file, and this is not the correct one to have been called with function. Are we one getting there? Yeah, not this one. Called. Oh, that's fine. So now let me just save my file. Now let me refresh there. So here you can see all of our tests are now successfully passing, and our component is working the way it should be working. And there was our date picker component. We are going to be building what do we call it, the input component right now. So I'm going to create a new folder with the name of input, and inside there we're going to be creating our index.tsx and also our input.tsx. Okay, so now inside this input.tsx file, we have to create our component. So I'm going to import React from the React.js. You would also need to import the CVA from the class variance authority. You would also need to import the TW merge from the Tailwind merge. And now I'm going to be using my RAFCE to create my input component. So here we are going to be also providing the variant as a prop, size as a prop, disabled as a prop, and class name as a prop. And now let's just spread out the rest of them. Okay, so we are going to be also providing the input props. So now let me copy the name of that and create that specific interface right here with the name of input props. And we are going to be passing a variants, but before we do that, first of all, we are going to be extending there. I forgot to do that. So we will use like extend, and it will be extending from the omit, then from the React.js.input HTML attribute. So not this one, from the React.js, and then input HTML attributes. And now let me just specifically provide my HTML input element right here, because we are going to be using the on the HTML element attribute. Now let me provide my comma and provide my size there and close there like so. Okay, so now if I save there, this is how it's going to look like right now. So now we are going to be providing our variant, variant. This is going to be totally optional, and we are going to be providing the primary variant, the secondary variant, and also the error variant right here. Next up, we also have to provide the size. So size will be also totally optional, so we can either provide like small size, or we can provide the medium size, or we can provide the large size like so. You can also provide the disable, DISABLED, and for the disable, which will be also totally optional, so we have to provide like boolean value to there. So now this is how we are going to be annotating our component, but now let's use our class variance authority. I'm going to go to the top, and here we are going to be providing a base classes for our class variance authority. I'm going to give it the name of like input style, or styles rather, and CVA for class variance authority. And pairing for the x-axis will be set to 4, pairing for the y-axis will be set to 2, border and totally rounded, and for the focus state, the outline will be set to totally none. I'm going to also provide this object right here for the variants. It's going to be set to this variant, variant, and let's just provide a few different variants to our component. So we can provide the variant of primary, which will look something like this, like border will be set to totally blue of 500, text will be set to totally blue of 500, and focus state will be set to ring blue of 500. So it should be focus, FOCUS, like so. And that's going to be it for the primary. Let's just provide the secondary variant, so it will look something like this. So border will be set to gray 500, and text will be set to gray of 500 once again. And for the focus state, ring will be set to gray of 500 like so. I'm going to provide this comma there. I'm going to also provide a comma right here, and we are going to be also providing an error state. So for the error state, border will be set to totally red of 500, and text will be set to red of 500 as well. On the focus state, the ring value will be set to red 500, and there we go. That was our variants, but now we are going to be specifying the sizes. So for each size, let's just start from the small one. We are going to be providing like text of totally small. We are going to be also providing a medium size. So medium size will be text of totally base, and I'm going to also provide the large size, and which will be text of totally LG for the large one. Okay, now we are going to be also providing a disable state, so DISABLED, and I'm going to set that to true. So when this is true, in that situation, we are going to be using background gray of 200, text will be set to gray of 500, and cursor CURSOR will be set to not allowed, like so. Now let me just save this file right now, and now underneath them, we are going to be providing a default value for our variants. So I'll just write like default value for this specific variant. It's going to be set to primary. We're going to be also providing a default value for the size, which will be set to medium. And we are going to be also providing a default value for the disable, which will be set to false. Now let me just save my file, and I'm going to copy the collapse that right here. I'm going to also collapse there. And now let me go ahead and use that right here. But before we do that, we're going to have to use our TW merge, like Tailwind merge. And we're going to be passing like input styles, and now here we're going to be passing our props like the variant and so on and so forth. So I'm going to copy the variant, place there. We're going to be also providing the size, so I'm going to copy there and place that right here, provide a comma there, and finally we're going to be also providing this disable one and provide that right here. Now outside from there, we're going to be also providing a class names, and we are going to be storing there inside some sort of a variable like merge class names or something like that. Now let me just save my file, and that's totally done. I'm gonna copy this class names variable, and now we have to use the inside our JSX. So I'm gonna just remove the and provide my input field and close there. And now we are going to be spreading out the props. We will also need to provide the class names and provide my merge class names, and for the disable we are going to be also providing their disable prop. Now let me just save my file, and this is how we are going to be creating our component by using the class variance authority, by using TypeScript and also Tailwind Merge and React.js. Now let me go ahead and go to my index dot, not this one, but my index.tsx file, which is inside this input folder, not dot. So I'm gonna just export default from where, from, let's just go into the input folder. Now let me just save my file, and that's done. I'm gonna also go into this index.ts file, not this one. You know what, let me just collapse there, go to the src folder, then I'm gonna go to the components folder, then I'm gonna go to this index.ts file, and here we also have to export there. So we are going to be exporting default as dead picker, which we also forgot. So let's just go ahead and go to the dead picker component, and we are going to be also importing, not importing, but exporting default, come on, default default as a input component from where, from our input component folder. So now let me just save my file, and that's done. So now let me close there, and now we are going to be going into the stories folder and create a story for our input component. So I'll use like input.stories.tsx. And let's get into it, baby. Let's get into it. So the first thing that we have to do is that we have to import React from the React.js. You would also need to import the type of meta. Come on, meta and story object from where, from the test, not, why am I saying testing all the time? We should be getting there from the storybook React.js. And we would also need our input component so that we can work with there. But we are not going to be importing there from there. We are going to be importing there from our components folder. And then we have our input component like so. Now let me go ahead and provide my meta, and I'm going to also use my meta types, and the type of will be set to input. So now inside there we are going to be passing our title, and title will be set to components, and then input component. I'm going to also provide my component right here, and that will be equals to this input field, or that input component which we just defined, and also the parameters we are going to be setting there to the layout, and layout will be set to centered like so. I'm going to also provide the tags, and for each tags we want there to give us like automatically generated docs. So I'll just use like auto docs, save this file, and now underneath there we have to just export there like so. Now we are going to be creating our type. So type will be set to story, and it's going to be set to story object, and I'm going to provide like type of meta and close there like this. Now we are going to be creating our first story, which will be a primary, and now let's just annotate there with the story, and inside there we are going to be passing our arguments and provide my variant, and variant will be set to primary. I'm going to also provide the size, so the size will be set to medium, and I'm going to also provide the placeholder for my component like primary input. I guess that's going to be fine. So now let me just save my file, go into my storybook, and everything is working. And now let me go there and refresh there. Here you can see we are now getting our input components. Now if I click on there, so we are now getting different colors, like there's going to be set for a primary color, secondary color, and error color. We can also get the smaller screen size, the medium one, and also the large one. We can also change the content to be something else or something like that, and we can also make there disable, so like whenever we hover over there we would not be able to type something inside this input field. So now let me just change that back to the smaller one and primary component like so. And that was our first story, and now let me define a few more stories. So I'm gonna go ahead and just export my secondary, secondary, and provide my story there. And inside there we are going to be passing our arguments, and let's just use like variant, and variant will be set to secondary, and for the size that's going to be set to medium, and I'm going to also provide the placeholder, and placeholder will be set to secondary input like so. I'm going to save this file right now, go into this secondary component, and here you can see the color is now totally changed. I'm going to also define a few more stories, so I'll just go ahead and export small story, and that's going to be set to the story. And inside there, let's just pass our arguments, and I'm going to be passing the variant, and variant will be set to primary. I'm going to also provide the size, and the size will be set to small in this case. and also the placeholder will say like small input field or something like that. And now let me just go ahead and click on the small one, and now it's going to give us a small input field right here, which is looking cool. Now I'm going to be generating the large input field, so I'm going to go ahead and write my export const and large input large and provide a story right here, and that's going to be set to the args. And inside this args we are going to be passing a variant which will be set to a primary. I'm going to be also passing a size, and size will be set to large, and the placeholder will be set to large input right here. So now let's just save our file, and if I click on this, now it's going to give us a bit large input field right here, which is also looking cool. Now the final story that we have to write will be for the disabled one, so I'll just use like export const disabled and paste my story right here. I'm going to be pasting my args, and inside these args let's just paste the variant, and variant will be set to primary. The size will also be set to medium, and I'm going to also provide the disable and set that to true. I'm going to be pasting a placeholder in which will say like disabled input field like so. Now let me just save my file, click on there, and that was it about our stories about our input field. So next we're going to be writing a unit test for our component. Time to write a unit test for our component. So I'm going to go into my test folder, then components folder, then I'm going to create a new file with the name of input.test.tsx. And now here, first of all, let's just remove this one and also that one. And now we're going to be importing React.js from the React. You would also need to import the render function and also the screen from where? From the testing library and then React.js. You would also need to import our input component so that we can test that, but not from the lib. What the hell is that? We have to go into the components folder. God damn it. And then we have to go into, now we have to go to the components folder, and now we are going to be getting there from the input. There we go. Now let's just define our describe, and for this describe we are going to be passing like input component, and let's just pass input component and pass our arrow function inside there. So first of all, let's just write a first suite like it should render correctly, and then we are going to be passing our arrow function. So now let me just render my input component, and now let me just close there like this. I'm going to be also passing a placeholder which will say like test input like so. Now let me just save my file right now. Then we are going to be selecting that component by using get by placeholder text, and then we are going to be passing like test input right here, and we are going to be selecting that component by using that placeholder text. And now we are going to be also providing an input element. It's going to be set to this value, and now underneath there let's just provide our expectation. Like for the input element, we want it to be in the document. Let's just save our file, and let's just see all of our tests are now successfully passing. And I'm gonna go into the vtest, refresh there, and collapse this component, uncollapse that. Yep, our test is now successfully passing, and which is looking cool. Now we are going to be providing another test suite, like it should apply the primary, come on, primary variant by default, like so. And here we have to pass our arrow function right here, and I'm going to just render my component by passing my input field, and then we are going to be passing some sort of a placeholder like primary variant in lowercase variant. And now underneath them I'm going to get there by using screen dot get by placeholder value, placeholder not value but text, and let's just paste our primary variant inside there. Now we are going to be storing the inside the input element, and it's going to be equals to this value. Let me pass my expectation, and I'm going to pass my input element, and we want there to have the class name of border totally blue of 500. I'm going to duplicate that 3 times, and then I'm going to change that to like blue, then the text to be blue of 500, and on the focus state let's just remove there. What the hell am I doing? Let's just remove them, and for the focus state we're going to be passing ring of 500 blue. And now let me just remove there. Check this out. So yeah, all of our tests are now successfully passing, and by default it will provide that primary variant to there. So I'm going to collapse that right here, and now we are going to be providing another test suite for the secondary. So it should apply the secondary variant variant when specified. And here let's just pass our arrow function, pass our render prop and input field right here, close there. And for the placeholder, we will select secondary variant. And I'm going to be also pasting my variant of secondary right here, secondary secondary variant. And now underneath there, we're going to be getting that specific element by using get placeholder text. And let's just paste our secondary variant right here like this, and now we are going to be storing the inside the input element, and it's going to look something like this. Now underneath that, we have to provide our expectation for our input element, and we want that to have the class names of border totally gray of 500. I'm going to duplicate that a few times, and I'm going to change this one to text of 500, text of gray 500, and this one will be for the focus one. So for the focus, we want to provide the ring of gray 500, and let's just remove them. Check this out, all of our tests are now successfully passing, and yep, here as well. We are now at the 23 test cases. Cool. That was a lot. And now underneath there, we have to provide yet another test suite, like it should apply the error variant variant when specified, like so. And here we are going to be passing our callback function, render our component by using this input clause there, and pass our placeholder, which will say like error variant. Here we are going to be also passing a variant of error like so. Now let me just save my file, and underneath there we are going to be using a screen get by placeholder text, and I'm going to say like error variant, and now we have to store the inside the input element variable like this. Underneath there we are going to be passing our expectation like input element, and then we want there to have the class names of border totally red, because this is a error variant, and now that's going to be set to 500. I'm going to duplicate there 2 more time, and this one will be set to text of red 500, and this one will be for the focus state. So focus ring red 500. Check this out, refresh there, and our test is now successfully passing, and that's because our code is working the way it should be working. Now underneath there we are going to be providing another test case for the smaller input field. So I'll just write like it should apply the small size when specified. When we specify a smaller screen size, so it should just render that smaller input field. Okay, so I'm going to be providing a placeholder which will say like small size or something like that. I'm going to be also providing a size right here, and the size will be set to small. And now underneath them, we are going to be getting by using screen get by placeholder, and pass our small size like so, and then we are going to be getting our input element by using that placeholder text. So now underneath them, provide our expectation, and we want the input element to have at least this class. So to have class text of totally small. Let's just save our file, test this out. Yep, our test is now successfully working. Now let me just duplicate that for the medium size. So I'm gonna duplicate that and change that to like it should apply the medium size, medium, and I'm gonna also change that to like medium, and change this one to medium. I'm gonna also change that to like medium, and here we are going to be also changing the text to be base. Okay, save our file, and yeah, our test is now successfully passing. Now let me do the same thing for the large screen size. So now let me just duplicate that. Oh my god, if I can get there today. So now let me just duplicate that one time, and should apply the medium. So instead of a medium, we are going to be changing that to large size. Okay, so large size, and this one should be large size as well, and this one will be large size as well. Change that to large, and here for the text we are going to be changing that to LG, and now here you can see it is also passing. Now let me duplicate that for the disable state. So I'm going to duplicate that, and it should apply or not apply. I'm going to just remove that. It should be disabled when the disabled prop is passed, like so. And here we're going to be passing a disabled input. And I'm going to also change this. We are not going to be providing any size today, but instead I'm going to pass a disabled right here. Okay, so here I'm going to just write like disabled input, and let's just remove that, provide a new expectation, and provide our input element inside there, and we want that to be disabled, and I'm going to execute that right here. And here you can see it should also take the disabled state as well. That's totally done. And we should also check like it should not be disabled by default. So let me just write another test case for that. I'm going to go ahead and just write like it should not be disabled by default, and here let's just pass our arrow function, provide my render function and input field like so, and then we're going to be passing a placeholder of enabled input, and I'm going to use like screen dot get by placeholder, then password enable text right here, and now I'm going to be using const input element, and it's going to be equals to the screen of that input element. Now let me just pass my expectation of input element, and we want it to not be disable. There we go. And now let me just save my file. Okay, so we are now getting that one as an error. And why is that? Because it should be enabled. Now this is password ed, and now let me just refresh that. Still it is not working. Oh, that's because it should be input not text, and now it is working successfully. Now let me write the final test case, and that's going to be it for this input test or input component. So I'll just write like it should merge custom class name correctly, because we also made that so that the user can also specify their own classes if they want to. So I'll just use like input, close that. Now let me just paste my placeholder, which will say like custom class in lowercase class. There we go. And I'm going to be also providing a custom classes like custom class or something like that. And I'm going to also use like, let me just get there from the screen, get by placeholder, and let's just paste our custom class right here. I'm going to store that inside the input element, and it's going to be equals to the screen of placeholder. Now let me just paste my expectation of input element, and we want there to have the class of custom class like so. I'm going to save this file right now, and here you can see it should also take a custom classes. Okay, there was a lot of typing in, a lot of speaking. So now that we successfully created the input component, we successfully created the input component, then we write a story for our input component, then we provided a test cases for our input component. Okay, so now we are going to be building a bit tricky component, so which will be a pagination component. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the components folder. I'm going to create a new folder with the name of pagination, pagination. Inside the pagination.tsx, and also input, not input but index.tsx right here. I'm going to close the index one, and now let's get into the pagination component. So I'm going to go ahead and just import the React. From the React.js, we would also need the CVA component and also the TW merge from the Tailwind merge. Now let me use my RAFC inside there, and it's going to take a few props. So now let me just destructure this. So it's going to take the current page, it's going to also take the total page or pages, and yeah, it's going to also take the on page change, like whenever the page changes. It's going to also take the size, the variant, and also the disabled as well. Now we are going to be also annotating there by using the pagination props. I'm going to copy the name of the and define this interface right here. I'm going to just go ahead and define this interface, and inside there let's just paste the current page, and the current page will be set to a number. We are going to be also pasting a total pages, that's going to be also set to a number. We are going to be also passing like on page change, like whenever the page changes. So we are going to be passing a function which will take a page as a parameter, that's going to be also a number, and we should return the void like nothing from there. So size will be totally optional, but we are going to be providing like small screen size or medium screen size or large screen size. Okay, we can also specify the variants. So variant will be set to default, and then it's going to be set to primary and secondary, SECONDARY, like so. Now underneath there we are going to be also passing the disable, DISABLED, and disable will be set to a boolean and also totally optional. Now let me just save my file, and that was it about for this interface. And now we are going to be using our class variance authority. So I'll just go ahead and define my page in PAGINATION pagination styles. It's going to be equals to the CVA, and here for the base classes we are going to be passing like flex, and items will be set to totally center, spaces on the x-axis will be set to 2. I'm going to also paste this object, and here we are going to be passing the variants, and for these variants let's just pass the size, and the size will be a few sizes like small, and when it is small size then we are going to be providing like text of totally small, and when it is a medium size, medium, the text will be set to totally base, and when it is a large screen size then we are going to be passing a text of totally large to there. But I'm going to also have to specify my comma there. And now underneath this size variant we are going to be also passing our own variants to there. So for the default variant, the background will be set to totally gray of 100, text will be set to totally gray of 800, and also when somebody hover over there, so background color will be set to gray of 200. I'm going to also provide another variant which will be set for a primary. So background will be set to totally blue of 500, text will be set to totally white, and when somebody hover over there, so background totally blue of 600 like so. I'm going to be also passing a secondary, and for the secondary, background will be set to totally gray of 300 and text totally gray of 700. And I'm going to be also passing like when somebody hover over there, so background gray of 400 in that situation. So that was our own variants, but we are going to be also providing a disable state, so disabled, and I'm going to set that to true. So when the disable state is true, in that situation we are going to be changing the background to gray of 200 and text will be set to gray of 400 and cursor will be not allowed. LOWED, there we go. And then for the default values, let's just pass these default values. We're going to be passing a default value for the size of medium. We're going to be also providing a default variant to be default, and also for the disable it should be false. Now let me just save my file. I'm going to collapse that right here. I'm going to copy the name of that. I'm going to also collapse this interface, and let's just use that inside our component. I'm going to go into this component, and I'm going to be using their tailwind merge, and here let's just pass our pagination styles today. And now we are going to be passing the size as a prop, variant as a prop, and disable as a prop. Okay, so now let me store that inside the variable with the name of merged class names. It's going to be equals to this TW merge. And now let me go into this UI and take care of this. So for this div, we are going to be passing the class names of that merged class names. There we go. And now inside there, we are going to be removing that pagination, and we are going to be creating a button. And this button will be a special button. Okay, so I'll just write like first of all my entity, this HTML entity, which will be, if I can get that today, and symbol and then alt T and then preview. So that's going to be set for a previous button, and we're going to be also creating a next button. So let's just write like, let me just delete that from here, and I'm going to change that to next and then end GT and close there. Okay, so first of all, let me just take care of the, what do we call it, the previous button. Then we are going to be taking care of the next button right here. So when somebody try to click on this, in this situation, we are going to be using this function, which is a handle previous, which we are going to be creating in a few seconds. And I'm going to be also passing a disable state. And for this disable state, if the current page is equal to 1, then this should be disabled. But if that's not the case, so it should not be disabled. So I'll just write like class names, pairing for the x-axis will be set to 4, pairing for the y-axis will be set to 2, and totally rounded. Now let me just save my file, and I'm going to be taking care of this handle previous and also this current page. So I'll just copy there, go to the top, or maybe here. Now let me just create this function which will be handle previous. It's going to be basically an arrow function which will only just return like if the current page is greater than 1, which we are now taking as a prop. In this situation, on page change prop will take the current page minus 1. Whatever page we are on, so just minus 1 from there, go to the previous page. Okay, so it's going to give us there, and that's going to be it for this what do we call it, previous button. And now let me go into this next button, and when somebody try to click on this button, then we are going to be passing like handle next, and I'm going to be also passing a disable state today, so that if the current page is equal to the total pages or disable. So I'm going to pass like the class names of pairing for the x-axis of 4, pairing for the y-axis of 2, totally rounded. So now let me just save my file right now. I'm going to copy there, and now let me go to the top here, and now let me create that function. So I'll just go ahead and create this handle next. It's going to be also an arrow function. And we are going to be checking if the current page is less than the total pages, which we are now taking as a props. In this situation, the on page change will take the current page, and then we are going to be adding 1 to there. So in this situation, it's going to give us the next page. Okay, so that's also totally simple and easy. But now the real magic will happen the middle of these two buttons, and which will be a lot of cool stuff. So here basically we are going to be creating a function, and then we are going to be rendering that function, which will be a render page numbers. And now let me just execute there. I'm gonna copy the name of the, go to the top and create this function right here. And I want you to bear with me for a few seconds because it's gonna require a lot of explanation. First of all, let me just create the body of this function. And inside there, we are going to be first of all creating a container where we are going to be storing our pages. So I'll just write like const page numbers, and it's going to be set to this empty array. Now the next thing that we have to do is that we have to iterate over through their total pages, which we are now taking as a prop. Okay, so we have to iterate over through these total pages, like how many pages we have. So we want to just iterate over through there. So to do that, we can use like the for off loop or just a for loop to be precise. So I'll just use like let I is equal to 1. So we are going to be starting from 1. The 0 will not be count. So we want to start from 1. And if I is less than or equal to the total pages, then we want to increment there by 1, then I plus plus. Okay, so if that is the case, so for each iteration, we are going to be taking our page numbers and then we are going to be pushing this button to there. So now inside this push, let's just create this button right here, and I'm going to close them. And here we are going to be only rendering that I, which we are now taking as an index from this for loop. Okay, so that's totally done. Now let me provide a key to them because we are now iterating over through this, so it will require the key. And now we have to specify that I as an index to there. And now we are going to be providing a bit of classes today. So the class name will be totally dynamic. So that's why we are going to be using these backticks. So pairing for the x-axis will be set to 4. Pairing for the y-axis will be set to totally 2. Totally rounded. And here less space or class is dynamic. So if the I, like the index, is equal to the current page, in that situation, let me just go back. In that situation, we are going to be providing this blue color, which will be background totally blue of 500. And also the text will be set to totally white. But if that's not the case, so in this situation we are going to be changing the background to totally gray of 100, and also the text will be gray of 800. So now let me just paste this, save my file. Okay, so now let me just explain there once again if you guys do not get it. So if the index, which we are now iterating over through, is equal to the current page, which we are now taking as a parameter or prop, so if that is the case, so you want to change the background to be totally blue and also the text to be totally white. And if that's not the case, so then we are going to be setting that to like background totally gray of 100 and text of totally gray of 800. So that's it. Now underneath there, when somebody try to click on there, then we want to fire this function, which will be this handle page change. Come on, PAGE and then change. Handle page change, if I can get that today. And here we are going to be passing our index inside there. Also for the disable state, we are going to be providing our disable state right here. And finally, I'm going to be creating this function in a few seconds, but finally we have to return something from this function or from this iteration. So I'll just use like return page numbers. Okay, so which is these page numbers, and we are now pushing this button for each iteration to this page number. So basically it's going to give us like the page numbers. I'm going to copy the name of this function, and now let me go to the top, and here we are going to be defining that function, which will be super simple. So I'll just use like handle page change, and the page will be set to a number, and here inside there, let's just remove that P and on page change, and let's just pass our page inside there, and that's totally done. Okay, so this is how we are going to be creating our pagination, and I hope it helps. But if it didn't, I don't know what to do. So I explained that enough. So now that we successfully created our pagination component by using React.js, class variance authority, Tailwind merge, Tailwind CSS, and also TypeScript. Now the next thing that we have to do is that we have to go into this index.tsx file and we have to export there. So I'll use like export and then default from where? From our pagination component. Now let me also go ahead and go to this index.ts, and I'm gonna also export that right here. So export default default as pagination, P-A-G-I-N-A-T-I-O-N, pagination from where? From the pagination component. Now let me save my file, and that's done. Next thing that we have to do is that we have to create a stories for there and then test cases. Okay, so time to create a story for the pagination component. So I'll just create a new file with the name of pagination.stories.tsx, and inside there we would first of all need to import React from the React.js. Then we would also need to import the type, meta, and also the story object from where? From the storybook, and then we have to get there from the React.js. And now we also have to get the pagination component so that we can use them inside this file. Now we have to create a meta, and that's going to be set to meta. Type of will be set to pagination, P-A-G-I-N-A-T-I-O-N, and I'm going to close there. That's going to be set to this object, Inside there we have to render our components and then the pagination inside there, and it should be COMPONTES. And now we have to render our main component, which will be the pagination component, PAGINATION. I'm going to be also providing a perimeters, and that's going to be set to totally a layout of centered. I'm going to be also providing a tags, so the tags will be set to the autodocs, so that it will automatically generate a documentation for us or for our component. So let's just export default the meta and create a type for our story. So I'll use like type story, and it's going to be equals to the story object. We're going to be providing a type of meta and close there. Now underneath there, we're going to be exporting. So let's just use like export const default, and there's going to be a story, and it's going to be equals to this args. And here inside there, we're going to be passing a current page and current page, and that's going to be set to 1, and the total pages will be set to 5, and we are going to be also providing the on page change, like whenever somebody try to change this page. So we are going to be passing a function today which will take a page as a parameter, and that's going to be a number, and we will just log to the console like page change to that specific page which we are now taking as a parameter. Okay, so Satori. It should be a story. There we go. And now underneath we also have to specify the size, and the size will be set to medium, and we also have to provide a variant, and the variant will be set to default. Now let me just save my file and check this out whether everything is working or not. Okay, so everything is effed up. So we have to start over. I'm gonna just use like npm run storybook and test this out right now. Let me just refresh there. And here you can see we're now getting our pagination component. We can also increase or decrease the sizes of this. Like the current page will be set to 3, it's going to jump into 3. If you set that to 5, it's going to jump to 5, to 2, and so on. And let's suppose if you want to get like 20 pages, so it's going to give us 20 pages. Let's suppose if you want to get like 100 pages, it's going to give us 100 pages. If you want to get like 10 pages, so it's going to give us 10 pages. We can also set that to small, medium, or large component, and this is how the default look will look like, and this is how the, what do we call it, the secondary look will look like. Secondary look will look like, what the hell am I talking about? And also if you click on the set disable, you can also disable that if you wanted to. So now let me just close there, and now that was the default story. Next we are going to be creating another story for there, which will be a primary story. So I'm gonna go to the bottom and use export const primary, and that's going to be set to a story, and it's going to be taking the arguments, and inside there let's just pass our current pages inside there, which will be set to 1. The total pages will be set to 5, and on page change, so that's going to take a page, and that's going to be set to a number, and we will just log to the console that same thing like page change to that specific page. I'm gonna go to the top, and I knew I imported something but we don't have to use that. So now let me just write like the size, and the size will be set to medium. I'm going to be also providing a variant, and the variant will be set to primary. Save this file and refresh there. I'm going to go into the primary, and this is how my primary component will look like. And you can definitely go ahead and change the styling if you don't like the styling. So in my case, that's looking totally cool, so I'm not going to change there. The next thing that we have to do is that we have to use export const small, and then I'm going to be using the story, and inside there let's just pass our arguments and pass our current page, which will be set to 1, or the total pages, which will be set to 5 pages. And on page change, we are going to be using the page, and that's going to be a number. Use the console.log page change to this specific page, which we are now taking as a parameter. And also for the size, we are going to be setting that to small, and also for the variant, I'm going to change that to default. Save my file. I'm going to go to the small, and this is how my small component will look like, or the small variation of this component. Now let me define another story for the large one. I'm going to basically duplicate there and change the name of that to large. So I'll just go ahead and change that to large, and here just change the size to large. I'm going to save this file right now and click on the large, and this is how it looks like. So this is a small one, and this is a large one. Now let me create the final story, which will be for the disabled state. So I'll just duplicate that once again and change that to the disabled, disabled, and here I'm gonna only provide like the disabled and set that to true. And now let me just save my file, click on there, and here you can see this is now successfully disabled. So yeah, that was it about the what do we call it, the stories of this pagination component. And next we are going to be writing a unit test for our component. So now let me go ahead and go to my test file or folder, and inside there we are going to be creating another file with the name of pagination pagination.test.tsx. And inside there, let's just import React from the React.js. We also need to import the render, also need to import the screen and the fire event from where, from the testing library React.js. We also need to import our pagination components so that we can use them inside this file. I'm going to also just define my describe function, and here inside there let me just use like pagination component, component, and I'm going to use my arrow function inside there, and let's space our first test case, like it should render correctly with given total pages, given given total pages. And here let me just paste my arrow function inside there and render my component like pagination component, close there. And I'm going to be passing the current page, which will be set to 1, the total pages, which will be set to 5, and the on page change, which will be set to the mock function, which is like vi and then fn for the function. And we also have to import that vi from the testing library vtest. So vi from where, from the vtest, vitest, there we go. And now let's just save our file. I don't know why it's giving me an error. Now let me hover over there, and variant is missing. Okay, go to the pagination, variant is missing. That's because we have to make that totally optional. I'm gonna close that, and now that error is successfully gone. So now underneath this render, we are going to be providing our expectation like screen and then get by text and pass or less than and previous symbol. Okay, so we want that to be in the document. What does that even mean? So we are now checking if the previous button are present or not. I'm gonna also duplicate that, and I'm gonna also change that to the next button, and also change this symbol to this greater symbol right here. Like now in this case we are checking if the previous and next buttons are present or not. Okay, so then if that is the case, in that situation we are going to be iterating over through there. So I'll use like let I equals to 1, and then I is less than 5 or less than or equal to 5, then I plus plus in this case. And now let's space our expectation like screen dot get by text, and here not test but text get by text. There we go. And I'm going to be passing like I and then toString and execute that. And we want that to be in the document and execute that like so. And now I'm going to go there. And here we have to run like npm run test UI. And now let me go to this vtest, refresh there, and go into my component, which is this pagination component. Let me just click on there, and yep, everything is passing and everything is working the way we expect them to work. I'm gonna collapse there. I'm gonna also hide this it function or test cases, and now underneath there we have to define yet another one. So it calls the on page change function, change when a page number is clicked. Okay, so it should call that function which we just defined a few seconds ago. And inside there, first of all, we are going to be mocking a function. So I'll just use like vi and then .fn, execute there, and I'm going to store the value of there inside the on page change, and it's going to be equals to this value. Now underneath there we have to use our render method, and inside there let's space our pagination, and I'm going to close it like this. And now here we have to pass our current page, which will be set to 1, and the total pages, which will be set to 5. And on the page change, in that situation we are going to be passing our mocked function, which is the on page change. Okay, so now let me just paste there, and now underneath there we are going to be using the fire event. And when somebody clicks on this, in this situation we are going to be using like screen.get by text, and we want to get like, come on, get by text, there we go. We want to get the third text right here in this situation. And now we have to check whether the on page change function was called with the correct page number or not. So now let me just paste like expect an on page change, and then to have been called with, there we go. I'm gonna just paste 3 right here. Now let me just save my file, and yep, sure it does. And here you can see our tests are now successfully passing. Now let me just collapse this one as well, and we should also disable the previous button if the page is less than 1. So I'll just use like it disables the preview. Come on, I guess I'm gonna have to write a double quote. So disables the, what do we call it, the preview button when on the first page. Preview button, not when, but yeah, that's totally fine. And here we're going to be also passing our arrow function and render my component like pagination component and close there. And I'm going to be passing the current page, which will be set to 1, the total pages, which will be set to 5, and on page change. In this situation, we are going to be providing our mock function like vi and then fn and close there. So now let me just save there. And underneath this render, we are going to be getting our previous button. So I'll just use like screen.get by text and paste my less than symbol and previous button like so. And now we are going to be getting our previous button, and it should be equals to this value. I'm going to also provide my expectation for the previous button, and we want that to be disabled, and I'm going to execute it like so. And here you can see our test are now successfully passing, and which is looking cool. I'm going to also hide there, and I'm going to just duplicate there because we are going to be using there for the next button. So it should disables the next button. Come on, the next button when it is the last page. So let's just use the last. Let me check out the code. So now we are providing every single thing that we should be providing. I'm gonna also change there to like next button, and here we should just change there to like, oh my god, next and then greater than symbol. And now let me just save my file, and I guess that's totally done. Okay, so we are now getting a next button when the last page is defined. Oh, we have to change there to 5. The current page should be 5. Now let me just refresh there, and yep, everything is now working the way we expect them to work. And now we have provided a test case for both the previous button and also for the next button to be disabled when the disable prop is true. Okay, so in this situation we are going to be using like disables come on, I can't even speak today. So I'll just use like the previous and also the next button when disabled prop is true. That's totally true. And here we have to pass our arrow function, render our component by using the pagination, and I'm going to close there like this. Inside there we are going to be passing the current page, which will be set to 3. We're going to be also passing the total pages, which will be set to 5. And on page changes, in that situation we are going to be mocking our function by using vi and fn, and disabled will be set to totally true. Now let me just save my file, and now let's test this out. Underneath there, first of all, we are going to be getting the previous button and also the next button. So I'll use like preview button. It's going to be equals to the screen.get by text and paste my less than preview button. And I'm going to also duplicate that and change that to the next button like so, and also change this label to the next button. And now we have to provide our expectation based on this. So expect, and we want the previous button to be disabled. And we also want the next button to be also disabled. And let's just save our file, test this out. So here you can see this test is also passing, which means like everything is working the way we expect them to work, and both the previous button and also the next button will be disabled if the prop is set to true, if the disable prop is set to true. There we go. And now we are going to be providing the final test, which should highlight the current page with the correct styling. Okay, so let's just use like highlights the current page with the correct styles. There we go. And here we are going to be passing our arrow function like this, render our component, which will be our pagination component, and I'm going to close it like this, pass our current page, which will be set to 3, and total pages, which will be set to like 5 in this case. And on page change, in this situation we are going to be providing our mock function like vi and fn. Save this file, and underneath there we have to check if the correct page number is highlighted or not. So I'll use like current page button, and it's going to be equals to the screen.get by text, not alt text but get by text like so, and provide 3 inside there. Here we are going to be passing our expectation like current page button, and we want that to have the class of background totally blue of 500. And I'm gonna also duplicate that and change the class of that to like text of totally white. Now let me just save my file, and now also we are going to be ensuring that other pages do not have the current page style. Okay, so to ensure that, we are going to be providing our expectation once again and screen.get by text once again, and here we are going to be passing 1 inside there and not to have the class. And here we're going to be passing like background totally blue of 500. Or let me just duplicate the like 5 times, and here we're going to be changing these values. So I'll just go ahead and change that to 2, this one to 3, this one to 4, and this one to 5. Okay, so now let's just save our file, and our test is failing. Okay, so our test is failing. I don't know why, but it is. Let me just go into X blue for the third one. Why is it failing for the third one? Oh, that's because we are providing this third one right there. It should be 4 and then 5, and we should just remove the last one. So 1, 2, 4, and 5, and we are already providing this 3 right here because we are not selecting that one. And now let me just check this out. So here you can see all of our tests are now successfully passing, and we wrote 36 tests, baby. There's a lot of tests. There's a lot of tests. Time to create another component, which will be a select component. So I'm gonna go there and create my select. Inside there, let's just create our index.tsx. tsx, there we go, and also the select.tsx. So I'm going to close all of them. I'm going to go into the select right here, and I'm going to first of all import the React from React.js, also the CVA from the class variance authority, also the TW merge from the Tailwind merge. And now we are going to be using our RAFCE. It should take a few props, so I'm going to restructure there, which will be a variant prop, the size prop, the disable prop, and the options prop, because we are going to be providing different options today. OPTIONS, and also the class name and props. We're going to be also annotating this component with the select props. And now let me just copy there and create an interface for that. I'm gonna go ahead and just write my interface and select props, which will be extending from the omit, and here let's space for React and then dot select HTML attribute, and we are going to be specifically using there on HTML select element. I'm gonna close it right here. Also, we have to provide the comma and size. Now let me just close there like this, and inside there we are going to be using the variant. So let's space our variant, variant. That's going to be totally optional. Provide a primary variant or a secondary variant right here. I'm going to be also providing a size, and the size will be either a small size or use a medium size, medium, or use a large size. Let's just save this file right now, and we're going to be also providing a disable one, disabled, which will be totally optional. So now let me just annotate the as boolean, and also for the options we are going to be providing a label for the option, which will be totally a string, and we are going to be also providing a value, which will be also a string of array. Now let me just save this file right now. Now I'm gonna go to the top and use my class variance authority. So I'll just use like const select and styles, and it's going to be equals to CVA for the class variance authority. For the base classes, we are going to be providing a block, and width will be set to totally full. Pairing for the x-axis will be set to 4. Pairing for the y-axis will be set to 2. And totally rounded. Focus state will be set to totally outline and none. It should be focus, FOCUS, there we go. And I'm going to be also providing a border. And now we have to specify our different variations. So I'll just use like variants, variants. And inside these variants, let's space our specific variant today. So for the primary, we are going to be providing like background totally white, text of totally black, and border will be set to gray of 300. And also for the focus, we are going to be using ring blue 500. And on the focus, the border will be set to totally blue of 500. So now let's just save this file. And now we are going to be providing yet another prop for the secondary. So let's just use like secondary. I'm going to go back, and this is going to be set to like background totally gray of 200. Text will be set to totally black, and border will be set to gray of 400. I'm going to be also providing a focus for the ring, and ring will be set to gray of 500. And for the focus, once again, the border will be set to gray of 500. So now let me just save this file right now. Underneath these variants, we are going to be also specifying a size for there. So the size is small. So in this situation, we are going to be using text of totally small, and pairing for the y-axis will be set to 1. For the medium screen, we are going to be providing like text of totally base, and pairing for the y-axis will be set to 2. And now we are going to be also providing a large screen size, which will be set to like text totally large. Pairing for the y-axis will be set to 3. I'm going to save this file right now. Now we are going to be also providing a disable state. So disabled for the disable state, let's just provide a true today. So background will be set to gray of 300, and text will be set to gray of 600, and cursor not allowed because that's going to be totally disabled. Border will be gray of 300. Now let me just save my file, And now let's just provide a default variants for values, or default values for the variants. So I'll just use like variant, and the default value for there will be set to primary, the size will be set to medium, and also the disable state will be set to totally false. Okay, so let's just change there. Now let me just save my file. I'm gonna copy there from there, I'm gonna collapse there, and now let's use there inside our component. So what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna just use like TW merge for the tailwind merge and paste my select styling inside there, and we are going to be pasting a variant size and disable from the props, and here we are going to be also pasting a class name. And now let's store the inside the variable with the name of merged class name, or names rather. Now let me just save there. I'm gonna copy the name of them here. Let me just remove this JSX, and I'm gonna change there to select, and here inside there, oh my god, let's just change there to select, and here inside there, first of all we have to spread out all of the prompts. And now let me paste the class name, and for these class names we are going to be passing our merged class names. And also for the disable state, we are going to be passing that disable state which is now coming from the props inside this select. Now we are going to be iterating over through all of that options which we are now taking as a parameter. And now let me pass my option, and here inside this option let's just pass our option right here. Okay, so here let's just render our option. Come on, option dot label. And now we are going to be also providing a key because it's going to take some sort of a key. So option dot value in this case, and for each of the value we are going to be passing like option dot specific value. So now let me just save there, and that's everything that we have to do for our select component. So that was it about the story component. I'm going to go into this index.tsx file, and here we are going to be using export default from where, from the select component. Come on, I have to type this select. And now let me save my file. That's totally done. Now let's go into this index.ts file which is now inside these components, and now we are going to be also exporting default as a select component from where, from the select. Let's just go into that select folder, and now that's totally done. The next thing that we have to do is that we have to create a story for that component. So I'm going to right click on there and create a select.stories.tsx, and here inside there I'm going to import first of all React from the React.js. You would also need to import the type, and which will be the meta type, and also the story object. Okay, so we are going to be grabbing there from the storybook React.js. So let's just import there. You would also need to import our select components so we can test there. Now I'm going to just define my meta, and I'm going to annotate there with this meta, and the type of will be set to this select and close there. It's going to be equals to this object, and we have to specify the title, and the title will be this components and select component. Okay, so we are going to be also passing the actual component, and which will be their select component. I'm going to also provide the parameters, and which will be that layout, and here we have to set there to centered. And I'm going to also provide the tags, and which will be set to the auto docs, like so. Now let me save my file, but I'm going to also have to export it like so. Now here I'm going to be passing my type of story, and it's going to be equals to the story object, and here let's space our type of meta and close there like this. I'm going to be creating my story which will be a primary story, so it's going to be equals to, let's just write like story, and it's going to be equals to this object, and here we're going to be passing our arguments, and the variant will be set to primary, the size will be set to medium in this case. And I'm going to also provide a few options, like it's going to have a few options. So I'm going to paste like label, and label will have like option 1, and I'm going to also specify the value, and the value will have the value of only 1. Now let me save there, provide a comma there, and I'm going to duplicate the 2 times. So this one will be 2, and this one will be 3. I'm going to also change this one to 2 and this one to 3. Now let me save my file, and now let me just go ahead and go to my components, refresh there. And then I'm going to be going into this select component, and here you can see we have our select statement where we can select our different options. So that's going to be my primary component. Now if I click on this, so that's going to be the secondary. We can also change that to small or medium or large, and here we can also set that to totally disable. So if I hover my mouse over to there, so it is now disabled. And we can also check out our primary component, but I'm going to have to refresh there. Let's just refresh there, and now let me click on this primary, and this is our primary component. Now let me create another story. So basically we are going to be exporting like const secondary, and it's going to be set to that story once again, and inside there let's space our args, and I'm going to be passing the variant, and variant will be set to secondary, and let's just pass the size, and size will be set to medium, and also paste those options. So you know what, I'm going to have to copy there from there. Let's just copy there, place it right here, save my file. Check this out. So if I click on the secondary, so this is how my secondary select statement will look like. I'm gonna just copy and place this entire story like one more time, and now in this case we are going to be creating a story for the small one. So there's going to be small, and here we can also specify like, I don't know, maybe primary would be fine, but I'm going to change the size to totally small, and that's totally done. Let's just save there, and if I click on the small one, so this is how we are going to be getting a small what do we call it, select statement or our component. Now let me duplicate there one more time. This time we are going to be creating a story for the large one. So now let me just write like large. That's going to be set to primary, and now we have to change the size to like large, and the rest of the stuff will be the same. So let's just save our file, test this out. If I click on the large, so it's going to give us this large select statement right here, or select component to be precise. So that's totally done. Now we are going to be creating the final story for the disable. So I'll just export default or export const disable, and it's going to be a story. So let's just annotate there. I'm going to be also providing arguments and provide my variant, and variant will be set to primary. I'm going to be also providing a size, and the size will be set to medium. And for the disable one, we are going to be setting that to true in this case, and I'm going to also specify a few options to there. So let's just paste those options. I'm going to paste like label, just one option would be fine, and this will be a disable option because we would not be able to select there. So that's why I'm only writing one, and it's going to be just a disable, I guess. Save my file. If I click on there, here you can see this is now totally disabled. Okay, so that was the entire story of our select component. So that's totally done. Now let me go ahead and go to my test folder, and then I'm going to go into the components folder, and now here we have to create a new file for the select.test.tsx. And here inside there we have to import React from the React.js. We also have to import the render and also the screen from where? From the testing library, and then from the React.js. We would also need to import our select component so that we can use there. And now here we are going to be just creating our describe and select component like so. And I'm going to just hit tab, and then inside there we're going to be writing our first test case like it should renders with the correct options. First of all, we have to even check like whether it will render or not with the correct options. So I'll just go ahead and provide a few options right here. So inside there, I'll just define like label 1. You know what, I'm gonna just copy that thing from here. I'm going to just copy there and place it right here. So I'm gonna have to remove this existing one, and that's gonna be it for the options. Now the next thing that we have to do is that we have to render our component to the virtual DOM. So I'll just use like select, and I'm gonna close it like this. Now here we have to specify those options, and I'm going to be passing those options which we are now providing right here. Okay, so that's totally done. Now we are going to be also using the on change event handler, and we want to make a clone or mock of this. So I'll use like vi and then fn. We also have to import that vi from the vtest. So I'll just import that vi from where? From the vtest. Like so. Now let me just save this file right now, and now here we are going to be checking if all the options are rendered or not. So we are going to be using like option dot for each option, and we are going to be just passing like that specific option, and I'm going to be providing my expectation like for the screen dot get by text. We are going to be selecting our element by get by text, and let's space our option dot label inside there, which we are now providing right here. There we go. So if that is the case, we want that to be in the document. And now let me just execute this, save my file, and now let me go into this retest, and let's just refresh there. So here you can see all of our tests are now successfully passing, but I'm going to collapse this one, and let's just check this testing, like this select testing, and yep, it is working the way we expect him to work. I'm gonna hide there from here, and now underneath there we have to check like it renders with the correct variant and size class, or classes would be fine rather. So now let me just paste my arrow function inside there, and I'm going to just create a few options. So that options would be like label, and that's going to be set to like option 1. I'm going to be also providing a value to there, and value will be set to only 1. I'm going to just duplicate there one more time and change that to 2, and change this value to 2 as well. So that's already done. Now we are going to be destructuring the container from the render function. So now here we are going to be passing first of all our select statement, and I'm going to execute there like this. So we are going to be passing not this one but the options, and here we have to pass those options inside there, or it should be options. Let's just put S and also S here, and we are going to be also providing a variant, and variant will be set to primary like so. And I'm going to be also specifying the size, and the size will be set to medium. It is not helping me with the autocorrect, so I'm struggling here. So I'm going to just use like on change, and let's just provide our mock function and execute them. And now that's totally done, but here we are going to be destructuring the container from this random method. So I'll just destructure the container, container, there we go. And now we are going to be just renaming that to like primary container like so. And now underneath there we have to provide our expectation. So now I'm going to be using like expect and then primary container that first child, okay, and we want that to have these classes which we are now going to be providing right here. So we want that to have the class of background totally white, text of totally black, and border of gray of 300, and on the focus state we are going to be providing like ring blue of 500, and also on the focus state the border will be set to totally blue of 500. So now let me just save there, and underneath there we are going to be providing yet another expectation for the primary container, and we are going to be getting the first child from there, and we want that to have the class of text will be set to totally base, and the pairing for the y-axis will be set to 2. I'm going to save this file right now and test this out. Now let me just refresh there, and here you can see our second test is also passing, or our third test. Yeah, this is a second one, not a third test. Let me just zoom in a bit, and yep, our test is now successfully passing. I'm going to hide there because there's a lot of code. And now we are going to be also testing the secondary variant as well inside that same test. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just render my component once again. And I'm going to be using like select statement, and I'm going to have to close it like this and provide my options inside there, and their same options, and provide my variant. And in this case we are going to be passing a secondary variant like so, and for the size we are going to be providing like the large size, and I'm going to be also providing the on change, and let's just use like vi and then fn and execute there. But now in this case we are going to be destructuring the container, and I'm going to rename that to the secondary container like so. And now let me just save this file right now, and now we are going to be using this secondary container to provide our expectations. So now underneath there what do we have to do? We have to provide our expectation, and we want to get like the secondary container and first child from there, and we want there to have at least these classes. Okay, so I'll just write like background totally gray of 200, and also text will be set to totally black, border will be set to gray of 400, and the focus state FOCUS on the focus state ring will be set to gray of 500. On the focus state once again we are going to be providing a border of totally gray and 500. I'm going to be providing yet another expectation for this same it. Okay, so let's just use like secondary container once again. We want to get the first child out of there, and we want that to have the classes of text totally large, and also pairing on the y-axis will be set to 3. Now let me just save my file, and now let me just refresh there, and here you can see we are now getting all of our tests are now successfully passing. So now we have to hide there because that's a lot of code, and now we are going to be providing yet another test case. So let's just use like it disables, disables the select select when the disable prop is true. Okay, so we are going to be disabling our select statement when the disable prop is provided, and that's set to true. Okay, so now inside there let's just create a few options, and let's just provide like I don't know, label 1 which will be option 1, and now we are going to be also providing a value, and value will be set to 1, change there to 2, and change this value to 2 as well. Underneath there we are going to be using the render method and provide my select statement and close there like this. And for the options we are going to be providing those options, and for the disable now we are going to be setting that to true in this case. And on change we are going to be using like vi.fn and execute there. And now underneath there we are going to be getting that specific element by using get by row, and here let's just provide like combo box, because in this case we are going to be selecting our options or select statement to be precise. So that's why we are now passing like combo box. And now let's just use like select element, and it's going to be equals to that same value. Underneath there we have to provide our expectation, and which will be set to a select element, and we want it to be disabled and execute there. So let's just save our file, test this out. So here you can see it will be disabled when we specify the disable prop to true. That's totally done. I'm going to also hide that. Underneath here, we are going to be creating yet another if statement. So it should renders with the default value if provided. Okay, so if somebody provided a default value today, so it should also render there. Let me just paste these options right here. And now underneath there, we are going to be using like render. And let's just paste our select statement and close them. I'm going to be also providing these options and paste these options right here, and value will be set to 2 in this case. So now we are going to be selecting that second value out of there, and on change will be set to vi and then fn and execute there. Underneath there, let's just provide our expectation. That's going to be the main thing. Okay, so let's just get our element by row first of all, and we are going to be getting there by using this combo box. And now we want it to have the value of 2. So now let me just save this file right now. So here you can see it should also render with the default value if somebody provided. That's totally done. I'm gonna also hide that, and now let me provide the last test case for this component. So like it applies the correct styles when disabled. Okay, so it should also apply correct style when we disable there. Okay, so first of all, let's assume and create a few options. It's going to be set to like that same option label 1 or option 1, and we're going to be also providing a value, and value will be set to 1. Duplicate that, change that to 2, and change this value to 2 as well. Okay, so here now we are going to be providing our render method and provide our select statement inside there, but we're not going to be closing it like this. Now we are going to be providing our options, and that options which we just defined up above, provide this disable and set that to true. And when somebody try to change this, we are going to be using vi and fn and execute there. But now from this render method, we're going to be destructuring this container. This can be set to this container, I mean like this render method to be precise. Okay, so now first of all, we want to get the first child. So we are going to be using that container and then first child, and I'm going to store the value of that inside this selected element, and it's going to be set to this container first child to be precise. Now let me just provide my expectation, and we want to provide those expectations for this selected element, and we want it to have the classes of background holy gray of 300. I'm going to duplicate that a few times, and here let's just change these class names to like cursor not allowed, and also change that to border will be set to gray of 300. And now let me just save my file, and all of our tests are now successfully passing, which means like our components is working the way we expect them to work, and that's amazing. That's phenomenal, that's incredible. Okay, I guess that was the last component. I'm not quite sure. Welcome to the new section. So in this one, I'm going to be showing you the real power of Yarn Workspace's monorepos. I said it like a Baba Yaga. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to right click on there and open my terminal, zoom in a bit so you guys can see everything a bit better like so. And now we are going to be creating a new folder with the name of monorepos demos. And I'm gonna go into that monorepos demos. Now let me open that in my VS Code, and this is how it looks like. So here you can see we are now inside this monorepos demos folder, and now I'm gonna be just creating a new file with the name of package.json, and inside there I'm going to just specify a few things. So the first thing that I have to specify will be a private, because we are going to be creating our private what do we call it, monorepo. And I'm going to set that to true, and also we are going to be specifying the workspaces, because in this case we want to use the workspaces. If you are working with multiple projects inside your monorepo, like for instance you're going to be working with the UI component library or something, like you don't have to create this folder which I'm about to create. You're going to be also working on the web version, and also you're going to be working with the the native or the mobile version or something like that of your project. So in that case you can specify those folders right here inside this root of package.json inside this workspaces. Like you can specify mobile version and so on and so forth, but we are not going to be doing that. I'm going to just remove these 3 folders, and instead we're going to be creating another folder with the name of packages like so, and we're going to be storing all of our packages inside this folder. Okay, so now here we just have to specify that packages folder. So I'll use like packages and every single thing inside that packages folder. Okay, so now let me just save my file, and that's totally it about the package.json. And now let me just close there. And now the next thing that I want to do is that I want to create a few packages. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just zoom in a bit. First of all, we are going to be creating a folder which will be my math. And now inside this folder, I'm going to be writing some code which will be useful for those other packages. So this one will be like basically my utility functions package or something like that. Now let me create yet another folder inside the packages, and which will be like my project. So basically, we are going to be writing our utility functions or math utility functions inside my math, and then we are going to be using them inside this my project folder. Okay, so that's totally done. Now the next thing that we have to do is that we have to initialize both of these packages. Okay, so I'm gonna open my terminal, and now let me go ahead and go to that packages folder. So let's just write like packages folder, and now inside there, first of all, we are going to be going into this my math folder. So I'll just go ahead and go to my math, and now we are going to be using a yarn init-y to initialize there. So here you can see it's going to give us this package.json. So now let me just click on there. So it only has the name, version, main, license, and that's it. Okay, so now we successfully initialize our my math package. But now here we are going to be also creating a new file with the name of index.js, and we are going to be filling there in a few seconds. But now let me just close there. So that's totally it about the my math package. Now let me go ahead and go to this my project, and we are going to be also initializing that. Okay, so I'll just go out from my math, which we are now inside. So I'm gonna go out from there, and now we are inside the packages folder. So now you want to go into this my math project. So I'll just go ahead and cd to my math, not my math, but my project. There we go. And now we are going to be also initializing there. So I'll just use like yarn init-y, and now if I hit enter, so as you can see, we're now getting this package.json. We're now getting the name, version, main, and license, and that's totally it. Now I'm going to also right click on there and create a new file inside there, which will be index.js. And once again, we are going to be filling there in a few seconds, but not right now. So now let me just close there. Now here, I'm going to open this package.json, and I'm going to specify the type of module. Okay, so in this case, we are going to be using a modules. If you guys don't know what this line means, you don't have to worry about that, because this is just related to the Node.js, and you don't have to worry about this type module. Okay, so basically it's going to allow us to use the ES6 or beyond, like import and export statement. So we don't have to just write like what do we call it, the export dot something and something like that. So we just have to write like export default and something, and we just have to write like import something from some package. There we go. That was a rough explanation, but here you have to keep that in mind. I'm gonna copy this line of code. Now let me go ahead and go to my math package. Then I'm gonna go into my package.json and place there right here. And now let me just save this file right now. So next I'm gonna go into this my math package, and here we are going to be writing a few math utilities. So I'll just basically write like add function, and it's gonna take like x and y, and we are going to be just combining, or adding there. And now we are going to be also creating like subtract function, and it's going to also take the x and y. And now we are going to be subtracting x from y. We would also need to multiply, multiply. It's going to also take the x and y, and we are going to be using like x times y. And also we would need the divide. It's going to take the x comma y, and here it's going to be equals to like x times y, or not times but divide y. God damn it. And now here we're going to be just exporting there so that we can use them in other files. So I'll just use like add, then subtract, come on, subtract, also multiply and divide. So now let me just save my file, and that's going to be it for our utility function. Now that we successfully created this utility function, and we also exported there so that we can use them in other packages or files. Now let me just close there. I'm gonna go into my project, and now let me just open this index.js right here. Now we are going to be consuming there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna just write like import, and now we are going to be getting the add from where, from my math. And here you can see, you might be thinking like, Hussein, you have to write some sort of a path, then you would be able to use that. Like you have to write this path and then go to my math, and then you are going to be getting that content from this index.js. But no, we are not working with the static files. We are now working with the mono repo. So which means like we have to install this my math package first of all, and then we would be able to use that. So if I just save my file right now and console.log this add function, so I'm gonna just write like 2 and then 3. So it's gonna add there, and that's totally done. So now that we successfully import the code from my math, and we are now using that, but it will not work. And why is that? That's because we have to install this package inside this dependency, inside this project, then we would be able to use that. You can think about that is like, for instance, you are working with React.js and you have to install the Tailwind CSS, then you would be able to use that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go into my package.json file, and here we are going to be providing our dependencies. So I'll use like dependencies, and for these dependencies I'm going to be adding like my math, and here I'm going to be writing like the version of 1.0.0. and now let me just save my file. Now that we successfully add that as a dependency, but now we have to install that. Okay, so now let me just close that, and I'm going to open my terminal. Now let me go ahead, and we are already inside this my project, so now we just have to use like yarn install, and once I do that, watch what happens. So here you would be able to see that package.json, and now if I just hit enter, so here you can see it's going to give us this node modules and also yarn.log. Okay, so now let me just close there. If I go into this node modules, so now inside there we have our my math. If I open there, now inside my math we are now getting all of that functions right here. Now let me just close there, and finally we just have to run our code, which is now available inside my project. So what I'm going to do is that we are already inside this my project, so I'm going to use like node and then index.js, hit enter. So now it's going to give us the value of 5 right here. So if I want to import something else, like I don't know, maybe multiply or something like that, and I'm going to just duplicate this line of code and change that to like multiply. Come on, multiply like so. And now let me just save my file, run there, and now it's going to also multiply there, which means like our package is working the way we expect him to work. So that was about the basics of Yarn workspaces mono repos. But in some situation you would also see like people add, what do we call it, their name or their aliases. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to go ahead and go to my project, and then I'm going to go into the package.json inside there, and here we are going to be changing the name to our alias. So I'll just add like this add symbol, and I'm going to give it my name, which is Hussein. And if you are using your own package, so you should also definitely provide your own name. And now I'm going to copy this, save this file, and now I'm going to go into my math project, and then I'm going to go into this package.json and place there right here, save this file. And now here let's just remove there. I'm going to delete this node modules folder. I'm going to also remove this yarn.log folder, and now I'm going to open my terminal, and now we just have to reinstall this. So I'm going to go into the root first of all, and now here let's just use like yarn install. But before we do that, I forgot to mention, first of all we have to go into this package.json inside my project, and we also have to change that to Hussein, because now we are going to be installing this package because we already changed the name of the. Okay, so now let me just close there and watch what happens. So if I just use like yarn install, and if I hit enter, so it's going to install there right here inside my project. So now if I just go there, here you can see we have only one folder, and inside there we have our packages right here. So which means like we can totally use there. And now let me just close there. I'm gonna go into my project, and now it will not work. And can you guess why it will not work? It will not work because we have to change this name to Hussein Web Dev, or just Hussein, and then my project or my math. Now let me just use them, and here I'm gonna just use that same command. But first of all we have to go ahead and go to my project. So I'll use like my project, and then I'm going to use like node index.js and hit enter. So now it will successfully work. But now if I just remove that from here and rerun there, it will give us an error because we have to specify that actual path right here. Okay, so that's totally done, and this is how we can set up our mono repos. So first of all we have to initialize our package.json, and then we have to specify our workspaces or our packages like this. So if you have like more than one packages, you can totally define there right here, like you can say my math, you can also say like my project or something like that, but I want to group all of their packages into one folder, which will be a packages folder, because this is a public convention, like everybody use this convention. So that's the only reason I'm going to be using packages, and every single thing inside these packages will be included as a package. Okay, so this is a separate package and this is also a separate package. So if I change that to like something else, if I store that inside some other folder, it will totally work, because we have to just install that right here and it will not care about this code. And by the way, let me just also show you one more thing. So if you weren't using Yarn workspaces like monorepo, so like let's suppose if I go ahead and go to my math, and if I just change something, like if I made a bug, here you can see this is now adding, but let's suppose if I just write like minus, save my file, and now let me just close this file, and here you can see we are now using this add, and it's supposed to add these two numbers right here, right? So now let me just delete this line of code, and now I'm going to be using that node index.js, and if I hit enter right here, so now it will give us -3. And why is that? That's because we changed this code right here. There is some bug inside our library, we have to fix that. So if you weren't using the Yarn workspaces, first of all, you would need to fix this bug. That's the first thing that you would have to do. Second of all, you would need to push that to the npm by using npm, what was that? npm push ush. I'm not quite sure about that, but it was a command which will allow you to push your packages to the npm. But the next thing that you have to do, first of all, you have to fix the bug, then you have to push that to the npm, then you also have to push that to the GitHub, and also then you would have to reinstall your packages from there, and then finally you would have to use this code, and then you would have to check like whether the code will work or not. But now you're using a mono repos, so anything you change inside this file will be directly reflect inside this file. Okay, so if I just fix this bug, and now let me just try there once again, and here you can see we are now getting the exact same result. But now if I change something like I don't know, maybe if I just use like minus or something like that once again, and if I just rerun there, here you can see we are also getting that same result. So you don't have to do like all of that work. You don't have to like, first of all, you have to fix the bug, then you would have to publish that to the npm. Also, you would need to publish that to the GitHub, then you would have to uninstall that from your existing project, and then you have to reinstall there, and then you have to use the code and check whether the code will work or not. Okay, so there was a lot of explanation about the mono repos, and I hope you enjoyed it. Alright guys, so now we are at the point where we are going to be building our own design system in React.js, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open my terminal, and now let me just zoom in a bit so you guys can see everything a bit better, like so. I'm going to create a new folder with name of my own design system. Now let me go ahead and go to that my own design system folder, like so, and I'm going to open that in my VS Code, and this is how it looks like. So I'm going to open my terminal, and first of all we have to initialize our GitHub repository. If you want to do that, you can, but if you don't want to do that, you don't even have to do that. Now we are going to be using another command, which will be the yarn set version berry. Basically it's going to use us the latest version of the yarn. Okay, so now let me open my sidebar right here. So it's going to install the latest version of yarn, and chances are if you are watching this course in the future, the version of yarn will be totally changed, and that's totally my guarantee, it will be changed. And now we are using yarn 4.6.0, but as long as you are using like yarn set berry version, that's going to be completely fine. So that's done. Now the next thing that we have to do is that we have to create our mono repo. So first of all, we are going to be creating our packages folder, and inside this packages folder we are going to be defining our own packages. So I'm going to go ahead and first of all start from the first one, which will be the foundation package, foundation, like so. We are going to be also creating another package for the React.js, and also we are going to be creating a package for the storybook, like so, and in which we are going to be writing our stories, and you will see that in a few seconds. But now we are going to be going into this foundation folder, and we have to initialize that as a package. So I'm going to open my terminal, and now I am currently inside my own DS package, which is now the root. So now you want to go into the packages and then the foundation folder. So I'm going to use like cd and then the packages folder. Then we want to go to the foundation folder, and now we are going to be using like yarn init. And now if I hit enter, so it's going to initialize my yarn right here. So if I open there, here you can see we are now getting this package.json and also readme.md, and we are now getting like the name of foundation and also the package manager. So now let me just close there. That's totally done. Now the next thing that we have to do is that we also have to go into this React package and also initialize that. Okay, so I'm going to open my terminal once again. We are now inside the foundation package, so I'm going to go back from there, cd dot dot, and now we are going to be going into cd to the React folder, and now we are going to be using yarn init right here. So if I do that, now let me just close there. Now if I expand this React folder, so we still have this package.json and also this readme.md inside both of these folders. Okay, so now let me just close there. Now we are going to be going into the storybook folder, and we are going to be initializing there as a private package. So how we are going to be doing there? First of all, we have to get out from this React.js. Now we are inside this packages folder, and now we are going to be going into the storybook package. So I'll just write like storybook, and now let me just hit enter, and now we are going to be using like yarn init and then dash dash private, because we want to initialize there as a private package, which we are not going to be pushing there to like anywhere. Now let me just open this package.json file. So here you can see we are now providing this private label right here, which means like this package is totally private, which means like we are going to be only able to use them inside this packages folder, but nowhere else. So now that's totally done. Now the next thing that we have to do is that we have to make the as an actual mono repo. So I'm going to just double click on there, and here we are going to be passing our workspaces. So now let me go to the, yeah, we are now at the same place. And now I'm going to just use like workspaces, and we have to tell a specific workspace which will be that packages folder, and every single thing inside that packages folder, packages, and which is that packages folder right here. That's totally done. The next thing that we have to do is that we have to provide our aliases. So I'm going to go to the foundation package, and now I'm going to just write like the alias of Hussein. Come on, Hussein DS, and that's going to be it. If you are using some other package, like if you want to provide your own name, you totally can, but my recommendation will be to at least provide my name, because I'm going to be using some commands and you will just get confused. So at least if you are watching this course, please provide my name, and then later if you want to change there, you totally can. So I'm going to copy there from here, save my, now let me just hover my mouse over to there, and you won't be getting this error. So now let me just add this, save my file. Now I'm going to be going into this React package, open my package.json from there, and place there right here this Hussein DS and React.js. Now let me go ahead and go to this storybook, then package.json, and also place there right here, save my file, and close there. Now I want to explain one more thing about what do we call it, mono repos. So let me just zoom in a bit. Here you can see this storybook package is now dependent upon the React.js and also this foundation package. So now inside this foundation package, we are going to be using, or we are going to be building or design tokens, and we are going to be also using those design tokens inside this React components, and then we are going to be visualizing there by using this storybook. So both of these packages are super important for this storybook, and this storybook is dependent upon these two packages. So now let me just highlight there right now, and let's just right click on there. Then I'm gonna go into the set color, and I'm gonna change some color of there. You don't even have to do that because I want to do that. I'm showing you there. I'm gonna just choose this fuchsia color, and now let me just click on there. So I want to say like these two packages are super important for this storybook, and now we are going to be adding both of these packages to this storybook. So for there, we're going to be using this command. So now let me just go back, and first of all, you want to go into the yarn workspace, and we want to access Hussein DS and then the storybook, okay, which will be storybook package like so. So now what do we want to add? So I'll just use this add. We want to add React.js and also the foundation package. So I'm going to just use like Hussein then DS, and we want to just add the React.js, and we also want to add Hussein DS and then the foundation package. So now if I hit enter, so it's going to just install all of their packages inside this storybook right here. So if I click on there, now we are getting the dependencies of Hussein DS foundation and also Hussein DS React.js. So that's totally done. And now we also know that React.js is also dependent upon this foundation package. Like we are going to be building or design tokens inside this foundation package, which we are going to be using inside this React package. So now we have to install this foundation package inside this React.js. So how in the world we are going to be doing there? Well, we have to open our terminal. Let me just go back from there. And now we are going to be just using our yarn bin workspace. And now we are going to be accessing first of all Hossein.ds and React.js. And we want to add something called the Hossein.ds and then the foundation package. So now let me just hit enter. So it's going to install there inside this React package. So you know what, let me just delete that or maybe change the color of that. So I'll just change. Okay, so how in the world we are going to be even changing the color? Let me just remove that from there and that's done. Okay, so now here you can see if I go ahead and go to this React.js and go to the package.json. So what are we getting? We are now getting these dependencies, and inside there we are now getting like Hossein.ds for design system foundation, and we are now attaching this workspace to there. That's totally done. And next we are going to be adding a TypeScript for our project. So that was about the basic setup, and now we are going to be installing a TypeScript inside this entire mono repo. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open my terminal, and I'm now inside the root, as you can see there right here, and I'm gonna just use like yarn add and then -d as a dev dependency TypeScript. So now if I just hit enter, so it's gonna install there inside the root. Now let me just show you there. Okay, so if I go ahead and go to the packages, so here you can see we are now getting this TypeScript version, and by the time you are watching this video, obviously this version will be changed. Okay, so that's done. Now we are going to be installing the inside this foundation package, then we are going to be installing the inside the React, and finally inside the storybook. So now let me go ahead and install the inside this foundation package. So I'm going to open my terminal once again, and I'm going to write like yarn and then workspace, and then in which workspace you want to install there. So I'm going to use like Hossein.ds for Hossein design system. I'm going to go into first of all the React.js, or you know, first of all let me go to the foundation package, and we are going to be adding there as a dev dependency, and I'm going to just write like TypeScript, so it's going to add there. Now let me go back, and this is how it looks like. So now let me just hit enter, so it's going to install there inside the foundation package. Let me go ahead and show you there. If I go to the foundation package, and here you can see we are now getting this TypeScript right here. Now let me also go ahead and go to the React package, and we are going to be installing there inside the React. So once again I'm going to be using like yarn workspace, and then I'm going to go into Hossein.ds and then React.js, and we are going to be adding there as a dev dependency TypeScript. So now let me just hit enter, so it's going to install there inside the React package as well. Now let me use like yarn workspace. I'm going to go ahead and go to Hossein.ds and then the storybook. Now we are going to be adding there as a dev dependency TypeScript. So now let me just hit enter. So it's going to install there inside both of these packages. So if I go ahead and go to the React.js, here you can see we are now getting the TypeScript. If I go into the storybook, here you can see we are also getting there right here. Now we also have to create our tsconfig file inside the root. So I'm going to just double click on the root, and I'm going to give it the name of like tsconfig.json. Let me just zoom in a bit, and this is how it looks like. Now let me just hit enter, and now inside there we are going to be providing a few compiler options. So first of all, let's start from the compiler option. So compiler option, there we go. So the first thing is we want to allow JavaScript, and we want to set that to true, and then allow synthetic default import, which is this one right here, and I'm going to set that to true. I'm going to also provide the strict mode and true. Let's just provide the no implicit any. Okay, so we're going to be also setting that to true, and then for the strict null checking, we are going to be also setting that to true. I'm going to be also forcing the consistent casing in files. So I'll just use like force, come on, FORCE, consistent casing in files, and true. No fall through cases in switch. So I'll use like no fall through cases in switch and set that to true. No unused local variables. So I'll write like no unused locals, and I'm going to set that to true. I'm going to also provide the module resolution, which will be also set to true. So module resolution, and that's going to be not that's going to be set to node, not true. Isolated module will be also set to true. So isolated module, and set that to true. I'm going to be also providing a down level iteration, so which is level iteration, and I'm going to set that to true. Declaration will also be set to true, and the remove comments when we want to build there, that's going to be set to false, and the source map will be set to true. Going to be also providing a lib. We want to use the lib like esnext, and we also want to use the DOM. Okay, so now underneath them we are going to be providing a base URL, and that's going to be only set to dot, which means like the root. And I'm going to also specify the paths. So these paths will be set to this path like Hussein DS, and now we want to go inside there, and here we want to set there to the packages. So I'll just use like packages, and every single thing inside the packages and then inside the lib. Okay, so first of all, let me just provide a comma there, and that's totally done. I'm gonna also provide a comma there, and then es module, come on, module into repo, and that's gonna be set to true. I'm going to be also providing a skip lib checking as well, and that's going to be set to true, and then resolve JSON module. Okay, so let's just remove there and resolve JSON module and set it to true. Experimental declaration will also be set to true. We are going to be also providing the no emit error, not this one. No emit, that's going to be set to true. Then the strict function types will also be set to true. Let's just set that to true, and now underneath there we are going to be excluding a few files. So I'll just write like exclude, and we are going to be excluding the node modules folder, modules, and also we are going to be excluding every single thing. Let's just write two stars and then .test every single thing, like all of the file which will have this test file. Okay, so you just want to exclude there. So there was it about the main root configuration for the TypeScript. Now let me just go back, and this is how it looks like. If you want to copy there from my GitHub repository, you totally can. Or if you want to pause the video and type there by yourself, you can also type there. Now let me just close that from here. I'm going to go ahead and go to my packages, then I'm going to go into my React package, and here we are going to be creating a new file with the name of tsconfig. So tsconfig.json, and here we are going to be first of all extending our own configuration which we just created. So we are going to be using like extends, and we are going to be grabbing there from, let's just go ahead and go to the root, and then we are going to be grabbing there from the tsconfig.json file. So now let me just save my file. If I hold control and click on there, so it's going to bring us to this root tsconfig.json file right here. Okay, so we are now taking like every single thing which is available inside this root, we are now taking there, and now we are going to be adding a few more. Okay, so I'll just provide a comma, and let's just add a few more compiler options for the React.js. So we are going to be providing a base URL, and the base URL will be going into the src folder which we are going to be creating in a few seconds. In the outer directory, like when we build this, we are going to be using like outer directory, and we want to go to the lib folder. Okay, so we are going to be also providing a down level iteration. So let's just write like down level iteration, and now let me just set that to true. We are going to be also providing a target, and target will be set to yes next. This is also provide the JSX, and here we are going to be providing the React JSX because we are now going to be using JSX inside this package. This is also provide the module, and module will be set to ES next. Okay, so now we are going to be also providing a ES module into repo, set that to true, and also allow JavaScript, obviously true, and then the strict mode will also be set to true. And now underneath there we are going to be including a few files, and then we are going to be excluding a few files. So now let me just include there, like we want to only include the src folder, and now we are going to be excluding a few folders, so like exclud, and we want to exclude first of all the node modules folder, and we also want to exclude every single thing which is inside the test file. Okay, so we are not going to be writing any tests for this repo, but if you want to write there, you totally can, and that will not be included here, that will be totally exclude. We also want to exclude the lib folder, and now let me just save there. And that's totally it about the React tsconfig right here. So if you want to write there by yourself, you totally can, but if you want to copy there from my GitHub repository, you can also copy there. So now let me just close there. Now let me go ahead and just create a simple component so that we can check whether the TypeScript is working or not. So I'm going to just go ahead and go to my React folder, and we are going to be creating another folder with the name of src, and inside there let's just create our index.ts file inside there, and I'm going to just use like some simple component like greet, and it's going to take a name of a person, and that's going to be totally a string. And now let's just write like render first of all the person name, and then person name, or we are going to be showing the word right here. Okay, so now underneath there we have to also provide this colon right here, which means like our TypeScript is now successfully working. If I don't specify there, it expect this colon. So now let me just provide there, and here you can see our TypeScript is now working the way we expect him to work. So now let me just use like export default and then greet component, and now let me just save my file. And yeah, our TypeScript is now successfully working. And now let me just build this so that we can see that. I'm gonna go ahead and go to this React package, and inside this React package we are going to be going into this package.json file. Okay, so here we are going to be also creating a script for ourselves. So I'll just write like scripts, and here inside there I'll just write a build script for ourselves. And now currently we are going to be only building our TSC, like only our TypeScript configuration. So now let me just save my file, close them, and now watch what happens right here. I'm gonna open my terminal right now, and now let's just go back. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the packages, then the React.js, and here I'm gonna be using yarn build. And now if I hit enter, so it's gonna build there right here inside this lib folder. So now let me just zoom in a bit, and here you can see we have this lib folder, and inside there we have our index.js file. And yup, it is working the way we expect it to work, and these are our TypeScript declaration file. So that's totally working. I'm gonna delete this folder right now. And that was it about the TypeScript. So that was it about the TypeScript. Now we are going to be adding our design token inside this foundation package. So what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna open my terminal right here, and I'm gonna be using yarn workspace, and then we are going to be going into the Hossein.ds and then the foundation package right here. Okay, so we are going to be adding as a dev dependency style dictionary, because it will allows us to transform our design tokens into meaningful code. So we are going to be using like style dictionary. And now let me just add there. So it's going to install there inside the foundation package. So it's going to take a bit of time, and I'm going to fast forward the video. Oh, it just installed there. So I don't have to fast forward the video. And next we're going to be adding our design tokens inside this foundation package. Now let me just even check there. Yep, we are now getting our style dictionary version 4 or something. And by the time you are watching this video, you're going to be getting some new version. Now let me go ahead and just create a new folder with the name of src inside the foundation package, and then we're going to be creating a new file inside there, which will be a tokens file. So I'll just write like tokens. Inside this tokens folder we are going to be adding a few more files. So first of all we are going to be adding our colors.json, and here we are going to be placing all of our colors which we already designed in the Figma section of this course. So now let me just place this, save my file, and as you can see right here, first of all we have our JSON object, then inside there we have our color. So first of all we have our primary color, then we have a different variations of those color, like we have 950, then we have 900 through 50. So now let me just show you there. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back. So that is my primary color. If I can hide there, then we have our neutral color, then we have our warning, then danger color, success color, and grayscales right here. I'm gonna also hover over there, and I'm gonna add there to my workspace like so. So now let me just save my file, and that's totally done. I'm gonna also close there. Now we are going to be adding our radius tokens. I'm gonna right click on there and just write like radius.json, and here we are going to be placing our radius tokens. I'll just place that right here, save my file. So here you can see first of all we have our radius, and inside there we have our tiny radius, then extra small, small, medium small, medium, large, extra large, super large, huge, gigantic, and full radius is right here. Okay, so now we are going to be also placing this, save my file. I'm going to be also creating yet another file with the name of opacities. So opacities.json, and in this file we are going to be placing all of these opacities. So first of all we have our opaque, then we have the semi-opaque, then transparent, light transparent, very transparent. Now let me close this file. Now we are going to be adding yet another file which will be for the shadows. So I'll just write like shadows, or just shadows.json would be fine. Now let me also place it right here, save my file. So it's gonna give us a few warnings. Now let me just add there. So here you can see we have our shadows object, and inside there we have our extra small shadow, then we have a small shadow, then medium shadow, then large shadow, and extra large shadow. Let's just close this file, and finally we are going to be adding our spacing. So I'll just create a new file with the name of spacing, or spacing.json. Okay, and inside there let me just save this file. So first of all we have a 4 spacing, then we have a 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48, 52, 56, 60, 64, 68, 72, 76, 80, 84, 88, 92, 96, and finally we have a 100. Okay, so yeah, that's also my entire spacing. And next we are going to be using a style dictionary to make an actual code out of there, like the Sass code, also the CSS code, and also the JavaScript code. So to do that, first of all, we are going to be going into the foundation root, which is this folder. I'm going to right click on there and create a new file with the name of style dictionary, dictionary, styledictionary.config.js file, and inside there we are going to be providing a few configuration for our style dictionary. So I'll use like module.export. So module, oh my god, module, if I can get there today, and then exports, and here we're going to be passing our source first of all. So let's just add there source, and then source will be set to we want to go ahead and go to this src folder, and then we want to go to this tokens folder, which is this src, and then the tokens folder, you want to go there, and every single thing inside there which ends with the .json extension, so we want to go there. That's going to be our source. Now we are going to be building there for different platforms. We are going to be using like platforms, and here inside these platforms, first of all, we are going to be building there for the SCSS. So I'll just write like SCSS, but why in the world I'm providing these codes right here? Let me just close there, and we don't have to provide these codes. So first of all, we are going to be building there for the SCSS, and I'm going to just write like transform group. So transform, and we are going to be transforming there first of all for the SCSS, and now let me provide my build path, and we are going to be building there inside the lib folder. So we want to create a tokens folder for there, and we specifically want to output there on the SCSS folder. Okay, so that's totally done. We're going to be also providing our files type and also the extensions. So first of all, let me just go ahead and remove there and change there to array, and inside there we're going to be adding our object. Let me just add my destination, destination, and the destination will be this tokens.css file, or SCSS rather, SCSS. There we go. We are going to be also providing our format, so it will format there as a SCSS, and then the variables like so. So now let me just save this file right now. Now we are going to be adding our CSS configuration. So I'll just write like CSS, and then we are going to be providing our transform group, and now that's going to be set to the CSS, because in this case we are going to be transforming there to the CSS. Now let's just provide our build path, and we are going to be going into the lib folder, then the tokens folder, then the CSS. Now let me just add my files. So for these files, we are going to be providing our destination first of all, destination destination. That's going to be set to our tokens.css in this case, and the format will look like this. First of all, the CSS folder, then the variables like so. I'm going to save this file right now. Underneath there, we are going to be also providing the JavaScript source configuration. So I'll just write like JS and then src, and here inside there we are going to be providing our transform group, and that's going to be set to our JavaScript. We are going to be also providing our build path, and build path will be set to src, then the tokens folder, then the JavaScript folder like so. Okay, so we are going to be also providing our files, and the files will look something like this. So let's just provide our name, and the name in this case we are going to be going into this tokens folder, and then we are going to be providing our JS src. Like for the JavaScript, we are going to be adding there inside this tokens folder. Okay, so I'll just provide like tokens. We are going to be also providing our destination, which looks something like this. Like we're going to be writing our tokens.js in this case, and the format will look something like this. We're going to be writing our JavaScript folder, and then the module, or just a module, a singular. And now underneath there, let's just add a pure JavaScript. So in that case, we're going to be writing our transform group, which will be set to just a pure JavaScript. And we're going to be also providing our build path, and build path will go into the lib folder, and then we are going to be going into the tokens folder, then the JavaScript folder, and that's going to be it. Okay, so now we are going to be also providing our files, and files will first of all provide the name, and then the name will be set to tokens. The destination will be set to tokens.js, and also the format will be set to JavaScript, and that's totally done. That was it about the entire configuration for the style dictionary. So if you want to write there by yourself, you totally can, but if you want to go to my GitHub repository and copy all of that from there, you can also do that. So now that's totally done. I'm going to also go into inside this foundation package. We're going to be going into this package.json, and here I'll just write a script for myself. So I'll just use like script. First of all, we are going to be building our tokens, so I'll just write like build tokens, and that's going to be set to the style dictionary, dictionary style dictionary. We are going to be building them, and then provide our config, and then style dictionary, dictionary, and then config.js file. So we are going to be first of all building there, and then we are going to be building the entire project by using yarn build tokens. Like, we also want to use this command right here, and now we are going to be also providing the tsc, like also build the TypeScript. Okay, so I'll just write like tsc, and that's going to be it. Now let me just save my file right now, close there, close this file, and for now we are going to be only building these tokens. So I'm going to open my terminal, and I'm going to use like yarn build tokens. And now if I hit enter right now, oh, we are now inside this React.js. So we have to go into, first of all, the foundation package, and I'm going to use yarn build tokens. And if I hit enter right now, it's going to take a bit of time, and now it's going to build there, and all of that are now successfully built. So it's going to give us the SCSS folder, it's going to also give us the CSS folder, the JSSRC folder, and also the JavaScript folder. So now let me go ahead and go to this lib first of all, and here inside there we are now getting these different tokens. So if I go to the CSS, here you can see we have our tokens.css, and it's going to generate all of that design tokens for us. So here you can see we have our primary token, then the neutral, and we have the warning, danger, success, and we have the grayscale. We also have the different opacities, radiuses, and the different shadows, spacing, and you name it. So that's going to be it for the tokens.css file. We can also go ahead and go to the JS file, and this is how our JavaScript file will look like. So first of all, we have a primary, and then we have a 100, and now we can go to the bottom. It's going to give us different colors, as you can see right here, and you name it. Now we are going to be also going into this SCSS file, and here you can see it's going to also generate the sass variables for us. So it's going to also generate a sass variables, and I'm going to close there, and that's totally done. Next, we are going to be adding our Tailwind CSS setup. Okay, so now we are going to be adding our Tailwind preset. So I'm going to collapse every single thing. I'm going to go into the packages folder, then the foundation folder, then the SRC folder, and now here we are going to be adding our Tailwind presets. So I'll just right click on there, create a new file with the name of TDP, like the Tailwind design preset, then .config.js, and inside there we are going to be first of all importing our design tokens from the JavaScript folder. So I'll just write like tokens, and it's going to be equals to required. And if you guys don't know what a require is, you don't have to worry about that, because require is a Node.js thing, and you don't have to worry about that. So basically this is just a older way of using the import statement. Like nowadays we use this import something from somewhere, but we used to use this require statement. So it will require a lot more configuration to use this statement, like use the import something something. So that's the only reason I'm using this older way. Okay, so we are going to be first of all going into the tokens folder, which is this tokens folder right here, and now inside there we have our .js token right here, and inside this .js token we have our tokens.js file, and it is mess. Let me just show you there. Okay, so first of all we are going to be going into the tokens folder, then the JavaScript folder, and then the tokens.js. We don't have to provide the .js right here. I'm going to save this file right now, and now I'm going to write a bit more JavaScript code, which looks something like this. Now let me just save my file. This is basically a function which will flatten our object. You can learn more about that if you wanted to, but I don't want to waste your time. Now let me just show you what this function does. Here you can see inside this tokens.js file, we have a huge object. First of all, we have the colors, then we have each variation for different color, and then we have a different value, and which is a nested object. Like this is object 1, this is object 2, this is object 3, this is object 4, and this is object 5, and so much more. So now to flatten there, we are going to be using this utility which will allows us to flatten our object. Okay, so if you want to write there by yourself, you totally can. If you want to copy there from my GitHub repository, you can also do there. So I'm going to just hide there right now, and here we are going to be using module.export. So let's just use module, and here we are going to be providing .exports, and it's going to be equals to this object. So first of all, we are going to be adding some prefix. If you want to provide this prefix, you totally can, but if you don't want to provide there, you don't even have to provide this. So I'll just use like prefix, and I'm going to prefix there with my own name, which is Hussein. So basically, let me just show you like why we're adding there. Basically, whenever we are just creating some component, I'm going to go into the React component right here, and then we're going to be using some sort of let me just use like RFCE. You don't have to write this code, by the way. And we're going to be providing some class names, and for each class names, like if you want to use the Tailwind CSS, so you will just write like background blue of 500, like so, or 400. But if you want to use your own design system class, so first of all you would have to write Hussein, then you would write a background, then blue, and then 500 or 400 right here. So that's the only reason we are now adding this prefix right here. Okay, so if you want to provide there, you can, but you don't have to. So now let me just save there and close that right here. And now we are going to be adding our theme. And first of all, we have to add our colors so that we can use our own colors. And we are going to be wrapping there first of all inside the flatten values, which is this function. So now I'm going to copy the name of that and place it right here. And we want to first of all flatten the values of tokens and then a specific colors from that token. So what am I doing right here? First of all, let me just go into this folder. So we are now providing those tokens, as you can see right here, which will be a huge object. And now from that tokens, we want to specifically provide that colors, which are these colors right here. Now let me just collapse there. Then we are going to be adding the opacities. Then we are going to be adding the radiuses. And then finally, we are going to be adding the shadows and spacing. Okay, so this is how we are going to be adding there. So now that was it about for the tokens.colors. And now we are going to be also providing a border radius. So let's just use like border radius. And here we are going to be using that flatten value as our tokens dot what do we call it, radius right here. We are going to be also providing our spacing, not tokens dot spacing, but just a spacing. And spacing will be set to flatten value. And let's space our tokens dot spacings right here. Okay, I'm going to be also providing a box shadow, and box shadow will use this flatten value. And here we are going to be using like tokens.shadow, and now that's going to be it. We are going to be also providing our font family, which will just use like an enter font. But if you want to provide your own font, you totally can. Okay, so let's just use like sans, and that's going to be set to this enter font. Enter like this. And now for the plugins, we are not going to be writing any plugins, but now let me just even provide the plugins. And that's going to be set to just empty array. Now let me save this file right now. And that's everything that you have to do for adding a Tailwind preset. Okay, so now we have to build this foundation package so that we can consume them in other packages. So I'm going to close there. I'm going to collapse every single thing. I'm going to go into the packages folder, then the foundation. And now here we are going to be adding first of all our tsconfig for our TypeScript. So I'll just create a new file with the name of tsconfig.json. And inside there, we are going to be adding a few configurations. So first of all, we have to even extend the existing configuration, which will be available inside the root. So I'll just write like tsconfig.json. I'm going to hold control and click on there. So it's going to bring us to this root configuration. I'm going to close it right now. Let me provide my comma there. And we are going to be adding our own configuration, which will be compiler options. And let's just add our basic base URL, and which will be set to, let's just go ahead and go to the source. And for the output directory, so I'll just write like output directory, we're going to be adding that to the lib. Okay, so let's just add that to the lib. And also we're going to be including one more file. So let's just use like a include, and we are going to be including that src folder. Now let me just save my file, and that's going to be it for the tsconfig about this foundation package. And now you want to go ahead and go to this package.json file, which is available inside this foundation package. And inside there, let me just go back first of all so you guys can see everything a bit better. We have to add one more script, and that's going to be it. So we will just write like build style dictionary, and if you want to do that, you totally can, but you don't have to. Okay, so I'll just use like style dictionary, and now we are going to be building the config, and then style, come on, style dictionary, and then .config.js right here. Now let me just save this file right now. Now I'm going to be also adding two more things. So first of all, we have to add the main, and main will be this. First of all, we have to go into the lib folder. Inside the lib folder, we have our index.js file, and now we are going to be also adding a types. So types will be available inside the lib folder, which it will gives us when we build this package. So now it's going to be available inside the lib, and then index.d.ts. Okay, so now let me just save my file, and that's totally it. Close there. Now here inside this src, we are going to be creating yet another file, which will be index.ts. And inside there, we are going to be importing all of our tokens from the JS tokens, and now we have to export there so we can use there. Now let me just save this file right now. And finally, let me just zoom in a bit, and we are going to be building this entire foundation package. Okay, so let's just remove these tokens. Should I remove? Yeah, I'm gonna just remove that from there. I'm gonna also go to this src, then go to the tokens. I'm gonna also delete this js folder. Okay, so just delete that, and now we are going to be building this foundation package. So I'm gonna open my terminal, and I'm going to use like yarn and then build. Okay, let me just go back, yarn build, and hit enter. So now it's gonna build that in a few seconds. So yep, we are now getting there. And now if we go ahead and go to this lib folder, we have our tokens, we have our index.js, index.d.ts, and configuration, and so on and so forth. So this is how we are going to be building our package, and now we are totally ready to consume this package inside the React package right here. Okay, so that was about the foundation package, and now we are going to be taking care of the React package. So first of all, we have to install React.js and also the what do we call it, React DOM, and also their types, and then we would be able to use there. So I'm gonna go back, and now we are going to be going into the React package, or we don't even have to do that because we are going to be using a yarn workspaces. So we just have to write like yarn and then workspace, and then we want to go into this Hosend.js and React.js, and we want to add as a dev dependency React.js and React DOM. Okay, so now let me just hit enter. So it's going to install that inside our React package. Now we are going to be also adding, let's just go ahead and go to our Hosend.js and also React.js. So we are going to be also adding as a dev dependency the types for React.js and also the types for the React DOM. So I'll just use like React DOM, and now let me just hit enter. So it's going to also install that. Let's just close there. Now let me go ahead and go to my React package, and here you can see we are now going to be getting this types and also React.js and React.js DOM, or just React DOM right here. Okay, now we are going to be also adding a peer dependencies, and peer dependencies are those dependencies which will be used by our consumer, like the people who are using our package or our design system. So I'll just write like peer dependency. God damn it, peer dependencies. It is challenging like speaking and typing at the same time. So we are going to be adding React.js, and we want that to have at least greater version of 16.8.0 of React.js, and also the React DOM, it should have the greater version of greater than or equal to 16.8.0 version. Now let me just save this file right now, and this is how we are going to be adding our peer dependencies. Close there. We also don't need this pnp.cjs file. Let's just delete there. We also don't need this pnp.loader.mjs file. Let's just also delete there. And now we are going to be going into this YAML file, and we are going to be only adding our node linker, and node linker will be equals to this node modules. Okay, so now let me just save this file right now, and that's totally it about the React package. So that's totally done. Now let me go ahead and go to my React package. Then I'm going to go into the src folder, and here I'm going to just remove this index.ts file, and I'm going to be creating a component with the name of button.tsx, and I'll just use my RAFC inside this, save my file, and JSX element implicitly has type of any. This because we already added React.js, but we now have to install all of their packages. So to install that, I'm gonna go ahead and go outside from this React. So I'll just use like cd dot dot. I'm gonna also go ahead and go outside from this packages folder. So I'll just use like cd dot dot, and here I'm gonna go back, and I'm gonna just use like yarn install. And now if I hit enter, so now it's gonna give us that node modules folder right here, and that's gonna be it. So now let's just close there. Now let me go ahead and go to my button.tsx, and that's working the way we expect them to work. And now here I'll just write like props, and here I'm going to also remove that from here, and I'm going to just write like button, close that like this, and now we are going to be spreading out those props. I'm going to save this file right now. I'm going to also type the as any, so it should just remove that TypeScript error. Now let me close there, and that's totally done. Okay, so that was about the foundation package and also the React.js package. Now we are going to be taking care of this storybook package. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to install the storybook, but first of all we have to go to the packages, then the storybook, and now inside there we are going to be using npx and then storybook and then init. If I hit enter, so it's going to ask us to install Vite, I guess. I'm not quite sure, but it's going to install that storybook inside that specific directory. Yes, I'm going to just type y, and here I'm going to choose React.js and Vite. Okay, so it's gonna take a bit of time to install there. Okay, our GitHub repository is getting huger and huger. I forgot to include that gitignore file, and obviously it's gonna give us an error right now. We don't want to report anything, so I'm gonna just set that to an in like now. And now we are going to be installing like yarn, add, and read as a dev dependency. Okay, so let's just hit enter. And it's going to install the inside as a dev dependency to a storybook, and now we can use like yarn storybook, and here you can see it's going to give us that storybook right here, which means like everything is working the way we expect it to work. So this is how we are going to be adding a storybook, and we are now getting a lot of errors, but you don't have to worry about that. I'm going to stop there for now, and now I'm going to go ahead and go to my storybook right here, and here we are going to be adding our tsconfig file. So I'll just use like tsconfig.json, and here inside there what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just write a few configurations. So first of all, we have to extend all of their types from our root type. So I'm going to go there. Let's just write like tsconfig.json. I'm going to make sure, so I'm going to hold control and click on there. Yep, we are now successfully importing there right here. And now let me just close there, provide my comma there. And now I'm going to provide my compiler options inside there. Let's space our base URL. And that's going to go into the stories. And now we are going to be also providing the down level iteration, set that to true. I'm going to be also providing a target, and target will be set to ES3. I'm going to also provide the JSX, so let's just add there. We're going to be adding a React JSX in this situation, and I guess that's going to be it, but we also have to include that folder, so I'll use like include, and here let's just add our stories dot, yeah, I guess stories would be fine. Now I'm going to save this file right now, and that's everything that you have to add for this tsconfig for this storybook right here. Okay, so what the hell is going on? Oh, that's because I was clicking on the wrong folder. Okay, so that's everything that you have to do for this storybook. And now we are going to be adding the most simplest story so that we can test this. So I'm going to remove every single thing inside the stories. Now I'm going to create a new folder, which will be that same stories folder. And inside there, we are going to be creating our file with the name of button. So I'll use like button.tsx. And now inside there, the first thing that we have to do is that we have to import the button from the buttons. So import buttons from, let's just go into Hossein DS, and then I'm going to go into the React.js, then I'm going to go into the src folder, and now we are going to be getting our button. Okay, so now let's just use like export default, and inside there provide my title, and here, god damn it, title, and here is going to be set to like components, and then button. I'm going to be also providing my component right here, and that's going to be set to the button. Now let's just save our file, and I'm going to just write the most basic what do we call it, story. So I'll just write like export, and then const primary, and it's going to be taking primary, and it's going to be taking there as a function. So now we just have to render this component, and I'm going to be providing a variant to there, variant, and variant will be set to primary variant, because we're not going to be doing anything with this. So that's the only reason I'm writing it at this way. And I'm going to also close there and change that to like primary, duplicate there a few times. I'm going to also change that to like secondary, and also change this one to secondary. I'm going to also change this one to danger, and close there, just put a danger, remove that from here. Also change the variants of this, so I'll just write like secondary, and also change this one to the danger. I'm going to save this file right now. And now let me just use my yarn storybook, so it's gonna run there. And it shouldn't be just a button, it should be, god damn it, let me just close there. It should be a button.stories.tsx. So I'll just write like stories.tsx. I'm gonna close there right now, and I'll use my yarn, come on, yarn, and then storybook like so. And here you can see we are now getting our button component, and which is a primary, then the secondary, and then the danger button, which means like our storybook is working the way we expect him to work. But now we have to add a Tailwind CSS to this project, and that's gonna be it. Oh my god, 10k. That's awesome. So you know what, I'm going to collapse there, create a file which will be the gitignore file, and ignore all of that stuff. Now let me just save there and close there, and hopefully it should get disappear. Oh, it's not working. I don't know why, but it's not. Anyways, we are going to be taking care of that in a few seconds, but first of all, you want to go into the Tailwind, come on, tailwindcss.com. I'm going to click on the getting started, then I'm going to go to the framework and guides, go there, copy there. Now I'm going to open my terminal, and let's just go back, open the terminal once again. Now we are going to be going into the package.json. Now we are going to be going to the React package, and now let's just install Tailwind CSS. Or you know what? We can also do that totally simply. So I'm going to just write like yarn workspace, and now we are going to be going into the Hossein DS, and then we want to go to the React.js, and we want to add there as a dev dependency a Tailwind CSS. So let's just hit enter. So it's going to install a Tailwind CSS as a dev dependency inside our React.js package. So let's just close there, and that's totally done. Now we are going to be going into the packages, then the React.js, then you want to go to the SRC. Yeah, not even the SRC, but inside the React.js. So I'm going to right click on there and create a new file with the name of tailwind.config.js. There we go. I'm going to hit enter right now, and inside there we are going to be going in there. I'm going to copy every single thing from there, place it right here. We don't need this theme, so I'm going to delete this, save this file. Now we are going to be adding our plugin or our preset which we just created. So I'll just write like preset, and here for the presets we are going to be adding our own preset right here. Provide a comma there. So we are going to be requiring there, require or importing there. So we are going to be importing there from where? From the Hossein DS, and from the foundation, then from the lib folder, and then inside the lib folder we have a tdp and then config. That's going to be it. And now let me just save my file. Okay, so now let me just close there. Next we have to go into this src folder, and I'm going to create my index.css file. And now we are going to be copying this index.css directives, and now let me just place that right here, save this file. And finally, I guess that's going to be the final step of this entire thing. I'm going to go into this package.json, and here we are going to be adding our script right here. So that was it about for the build. I'm going to change that. I'm going to write like yarn build and then css and tsc, like for the TypeScript. We are going to be also providing the watch mode for the css. So we are going to be using like npx and then tailwind css, and we want you to go ahead and go to the src folder and watch for the index.css, and gives us the output of the inside the lib folder, and then the output.css, and watch there. Okay, so that's going to be it for the watch css. We're going to be also providing a build css. So I'll just use like npx and then tailwind css, and we want to go into the src folder, and then we want to go into the input.css file. We want to output there. We want to go into the lib folder, then the output.css file, and that's going to be it. Now let me just save my file, and now we are going to be testing our component. But first of all, I'll just go ahead and build there. So I'll just use like first of all, let me just even go into the foundation package. I guess we already built there. I'm not quite sure about that. Yes, we already did. So we don't have to go to the foundation. Let me just go outside from there. I'm going to just use like yarn watch css. Okay, so we have to go into the React.js, and then we are going to be watching that css. God damn it. Yarn watch css, and now it's going to watch there right now. Okay, input.file is not specified. I guess I named that as index, but it should be input. Yep, I'm gonna have to rename that to input and then css. And now let me just use like yarn watch css, and now it's gonna totally work. Okay, so that's totally done. It's gonna first of all build there. As you can see right here, it's gonna build there, and we're now getting all of that values, and now we can totally use that inside our component, and that's it. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to go ahead and remove that from here, and I'm going to just write like button component, which will say like click me. Let's just zoom in a bit, and here we can just write our class names. And now if I just write Hossein, first of all we have to enable our IntelliSense, then it will work. So I open this extension, which is a Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. I'm going to click on this switch to pre-release version. It's going to take a while to install there, and now I'm going to just restart my extension. Okay, so now let me just go ahead and go to my component once again, and I'm going to remove this class name from there, and I'm going to just write like class name. If I just use like, you know, let me just use like bg, and here you can see we are now getting all of our background colors right here. So we are now getting background color of Hossein. You know what, I can't even show you there right now. What the hell is going on with my IDE today? I'll just write like Hossein, and if I just use like bg, so here you can see it's going to give us all of that colors, which we can use right here. So we are now getting like all of our colors, which is a primary color. Oh my god, why can't you see there? God damn it. And we can also provide our paddings and so on and so forth. So you know what, let me just show you there. I'm going to use like background of warning, and 500, which is my own color right here. Okay, so which is the Hussein background color, and now we are going to be also providing some sort of a pairing. So I'll just use like Hussein pairing on the x-axis will be set to 8. It will totally work. I can also provide like Hussein pairing on the y-axis of 4. It will totally work. I'm gonna also provide like Hussein rounded totally small. It will work. And yeah, as you can see, we are now getting all of that values, and we can also specify like Hussein, the width will be set to 16, and it will totally work. Now let me just save my file right now. I'm gonna open my terminal, so it's gonna rebuild there, and now we are going to be opening yet another PowerShell. PowerShell, god damn it, not PowerShell. So I'm gonna click on there, and now we are going to be opening another terminal, and I'll use like npm or yarn storybook. So it's gonna open there right here, but first of all we have to go into the storybook package, and then we are going to be using like yarn storybook with the yarn. And now let me hit enter. So now it's gonna work. Let me just refresh there. Okay, it's not working. I don't know why. I guess I'm gonna have to restart this. So I'm gonna close there. I'm gonna also close there, and let me just restart this watch once again, and we are going to be restarting the storybook once again. It's still not working. I don't know why. We have to check it out. So you know what, if I right click on there, go to the inspect element, we should be getting all of these classes, but it's not working. So I'm gonna have to figure this out right now. Okay, so there was not one error, but there was a lot of errors, and it took me a lot of time to figure this out. The first error was, you know what, let me just remove every single thing and rebuild there. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the foundation and delete there. Okay, just a lib folder. Also go to the tokens folder and remove this JS folder from there. I'm gonna delete them. Now let me go to the React package. We're going to be removing this lib folder which we just built, and also I'm gonna go ahead and go to this tailwind config.js file, and instead of providing this export default, we are not going to be doing there, but instead we are going to be using this syntax, which is a module.export. That's the first thing that you have to do. Now we are going to be rebuilding our project. So now let me just stop there, stop this one, even kill this entire terminal, and now let me just reopen there right here. So we are now inside the root. I'm gonna go ahead and go to, first of all, the packages folder, then I'm gonna go to the foundation folder, and I'm gonna just build there. So I'll use like yarn build, and now it's gonna build there. So that's totally done. Now I'm gonna go outside from this foundation package, and I'm gonna go into the React package. So I'll just use like cd and then React.js, and I'm gonna also build this. So I'll use like yarn build, and I'm gonna just build there. Also, we are going to be building a yarn CSS. Yeah, just a build CSS as well. So it's gonna also build there. Now we are going to be watching for the CSS. So I'll use like yarn watch and then CSS. So that's totally done. The next thing that we have to do is that we have to go ahead and go to our stories. Then we are going to be going into this .storybook folder. Now we are going to be going into this preview.ts file, and here we have to import that CSS output file. So I'll just go ahead and import there. I'll use like dot dot, and then I'm going to go into the root directory. Now we are going to be going into the React.js. Now we have to go into this lib folder which we just built, and now we are going to be getting like output.css, which is this folder. Now let me just show you this. We are going to be going into this lib folder, and we have this output.css file. So now we are going to be importing there. The next thing that we have to do is that we have to also our storybook, so we can see there. So I'll use like yarn storybook, and now if I just hit enter, okay, so we have to first of all go into the storybook folder. Now we are going to be using a what do we call it, yarn storybook. I even forgot the names of them. So now if you test this out, here you can see it will now successfully work. Okay, and why is that? That's because everything is now totally correct, and now we can just use our own design system styling inside this design system, and that will totally work. So here you can see I was using my primary color, but let's suppose if I want to change that to like my secondary color, so I'll use like Hussein and then background of totally warning color. It's not even giving me that intelligence, but that's totally okay. So now let me just save my file, and here you can see the color is now changed to this yellow color, and I'm using my warning color right here, which is coming from our design system. I'm gonna also provide a few pairing, like pairing for the x-axis of 8 and then pairing for the y-axis of 4. So let's just add the 4. I'm gonna be also providing a few roundness, so I'll just write like rounded totally small, which is my own thing. Okay, so I built that by myself by using my design system, and here you can see it's gonna make this amazing button. And let's suppose if you want to change the styling of this, I'll use like Hussein and width will be set to 16 or something like that. And I'm going to also provide like Hussein, and the font will be set to semi bold. I'm going to save this file right now, and here you can see it will also work. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove this width of 16 from there, save my file, and that's totally working. And the next thing that you have to keep in mind is that we also build our own component library, so you can also push that to the npm and use that right here, or you can create a new file for that, and like new folder for that, which will be a component library. So you can put that right here inside your packages folder, and then you would be able to successfully use that inside your design system. And that was it about the design system. That was a lot of talking and a lot of explanation, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hey guys, Hussein and welcome to YouTube channel. So in this video we are going to be making a setup for our project. So let's just start our conversation by first of all installing a Tailwind CSS by using white or wheat, whatever you want to call that. So I just came to tailwindcss.com right here, and next I'm going to just click on this input area right here, and I'm going to just search for white or wheat or whatever you want to call that. Now let me just click on this Tailwind CSS right here, and now they are suggesting that now if you want to use a Tailwind CSS by using a wheat, you have to pass this command in your terminal. So I'm going to just copy this command right here, and now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just create some sort of a folder right here. So now let me just create a folder. I'm going to give a name of like Hussein store or something like that. Now I'm going to right click on him and open this folder by using a terminal. So I'm going to just open this folder by using my terminal right here, and now let me just make that a bit bigger like so. Okay, so that we can see everything a bit clear. So now here you can see the location where I am. So I'm inside a C drive, then users, then Hussein Web Dev inside a desktop, the folder name right here. Now I'm going to just right click on him, and here you can see it will now paste this command right here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just change the name to the front end right here. So now let me just hit enter. So now they will ask us to first of all navigate to that front end folder, and then just use, oh, first of all we have to proceed there to yes and hit enter. And I guess, yep, that's cool. So now that we have to navigate to this front end folder, and then we have to use the npm I or npm install to install all of the dependencies. Okay, so I'm going to just use like cd and front end, and now I'm going to use npm I to install all of the dependencies. So it will take a bit of time because there are a lot. It will not take that much time as compared to a create React app, but it will take a while. And everything is successfully installed, and now they are suggesting that we have a new version right here. I'm gonna do that later once I am done with this recording stuff. So currently I'm inside this front end directory right here. I'm gonna use cd ... to go out from it. And now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just write code and dot. If you're using a VS Code, so it will just automatically open your VS Code right here. Okay, so here you can see we have our front end folder, and everything is working the way we expect them to work. I'm going to just zoom in a bit so you can see everything a bit better. Like so. So here you can see we have our front end folder right here, and we are now inside this Hussein store right here. Okay, so the next thing which I'm going to do is that I'm going to just write npm init-y, but I have to write this npm init-y inside a Hussein store right here, not inside a front end folder. I'm currently inside a Hussein store folder, not inside not inside a front end folder. So I'm gonna just hit enter right here, so it will just initialize our project right here. Anyway, so that's done. So the next thing which I'm going to do is that I'm going to just create a folder. Let me just create a folder, give a name of like backend, and inside this folder what I'm going to do, or you know what, we are going to take care of the folders a bit later, but first of all let's install all of the dependencies which we are going to need for the backend. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to exit that right here, and I'm going to also close, or yeah, I'm going to close my sidebar right here, and now let's just push that to the right. Okay, come on, let's just push that to position to the right. There we go. So here you can see we are currently inside this Hussein store folder, and I'm going to install a lot of dependencies right here, or packages to be precise. So I'm going to first of all install a node one, then I'm going to install a multer, then I'm going to install Mongoose, and also JSON Web Token, Express Formidable, Express Async Handler, Express.js by itself, .env, cores. I guess we're not going to be using cores, but I'm going to install it anyways. So I'm going to use cookie parser, and also concurrently and bcrypt.js. There we go. So we have to install nodemon multer. Oh, I forgot. Come on. I forgot the actual command of npm I. First of all, we have to write the npm I, then we have to install the nodemon multer mongoose, JSON Web Token, Express Formidable, Express Async Handler, express.js.env codes, cookie parser concurrently, and bcrypt.js. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to hit enter right here, and it will install all of their packages in my directory. Alright, so all of their packages are now successfully installed. So I'm going to just collapse that for a second, and now let me just open that and go to the package.json file right here, and here you can see we have bcrypt and all of that packages right in here. Okay, so that was it for the backend, and now let's install all of the packages for the front end as well. Okay, and then we are going to be doing a bit of cleanup. First of all, I'm going to go into that front end folder right here, and now let's install a lot of packages. So we are going to need silk, silk carousel, React Silk, Toastify, React Toastify, React Router DOM, and also the React. I also forgot the npm install once again. Let me just use npm install and all of that. Okay, so React Redux. We're gonna also need to install the what do we call it, React icons. So React icons, and also the apex chart. You don't have to worry about what an apex chart is, because we are going to be learning about apex charts in a really great depth, but you don't have to worry about that for now. So apex charts, and also React apex charts. Okay, then we have to install the moment.js as well, then the flowbyte Axios. You don't even have to worry about the what we call it, apex chart. You don't have to worry about the flowbyte as well. You don't even have to worry about the moment.js as well. And I guess we are not going to be using Axios, but I'm going to install it anyways. I don't know, just for demonstration purposes. So I am going to also install the Redux. Come on, Redux.js, and then toolkit, because we're not going to be working with a vanilla Redux. We are going to be working with a Redux toolkit, and also PayPal, PayPal React /React PayPal-js right here. So I'm going to hit enter, and it will install all of their packages into my front end folder. There we go. Okay, so now let's just wait for that to do its thing. Whoop, I made a mistake somewhere here. Not found React registry. Redis. Come on, man. That was a mistake. Where in the world did I write the Redux.js? There we go. Gotta remove that. Let's just remove that from here, like so, and I'm going to provide a space. So now let me just write a Redux.js, and then we have to write /2 here. There we go. I want to make sure that I didn't mess up something. So we have what do we call it, silk carousel, then we have React Silk, React Toastify, React Router DOM, React Redux, React icons, apex chart, React apex chart, and then we have moment flowbyte Axios, React.js toolkit, and we have a PayPal right here. I'm gonna hit enter right here, and I guess this time it will successfully work. And there we go, everything is successfully installed. So I'm gonna just close that, and I'm going to do a bit of cleanup right here. Okay, so I'm going to just hide this sidebar or upper bar, whatever you want to call that. And now let me just open this front end folder right here. I'm going to delete this public folder. Inside this src, I'm going to delete these assets. I'm going to delete this app.css and index.css as well. And I'm going to just go into this app.js right here. Now let's just remove all of that stuff from here. Let's just cut that, and all of that JSX right here. So I'm going to just close that, and I'm going to just write hello. Let me just save my file. Let's go to the main.css main.jsx file and remove this index.css import. And also, I guess that would be it. So I'm going to just save my file, and now I'm going to have to write, what do we call it, a script for myself. So yeah, the first thing which I'm going to do is that I'm going to go into that package.json file right here, and I'm going to go up above right here, and inside this test area I'm going to remove this test from here, and I'm going to just write backend. And now let's just write a script for our backend. So I'm going to just write like nodemon. You can write node if you want to, but in my case I'm going to just write nodemon and backend and /index.js. Okay, now let me just do one more. I'm going to also write for the front end. Okay, So for front end, we are going to be using npm run dev because currently we are working with the white, so we have to write npm run dev. And now let's just prefix that to the front end folder. Now let me just provide a comma, and now let's just write for both of them. For full stack would be, oh, you know what, dev would be fine. We are going to be just setting to a dev, and I'm going to write concurrently. And also let me just close that right here, like so. And I'm going to use npm run for, first of all, run the front end, and then what do we call it, let's just close that right here. And then we have to write for the backend as well, so I'm going to use npm run backend, and I'm going to just close it right here. Okay, let's just close it for the final time, and I guess that would be fine. And I shouldn't have to close it right there, so I'm going to just close that. And now let me just save that. So now that we write a script for both front end and also for backend, so now let's just write or create this index.js file right here. So I'm going to just close that right here, and I'm going to go ahead and go to the backend folder. And now let me just create a lot of folders. So the first folder I'm going to create for the configuration, so I'm going to just give a name of like config. Okay, so this is going to be the first folder. The next folder which I'm going to be creating is for controllers. Okay, and then we have to create one for middlewares, so middlewares. And now let me just create one more for models and also for routes as well. So that's for routes and also for the utils, utils like so. And I guess that would be it, but I'm gonna also have to create a file, give a name of like index.js file, because we are going to be running, like, this is going to be the main entry file of our backend. So we are going to be running this file by using this npm, we are going to be using this file by using npm run and backend. Okay, so this is a script for that. Let's just close that. I don't know what the hell happened. Okay, so we are going to be using npm run backend, and it will run all of the content which this file has. So you know what, let me just write console.log of, console.log of hello world or something like that, and I'm going to open my terminal right here. Okay, let's just go back, cd dot dot, let's just go back to this Hossein store, and I'm going to use npm run backend. Okay, so now I'm going to hit enter, and it will start working. And here you can see we have our hello world right here. If I change that to something else, like I don't know, some sort of emoji or something like that. Come on, we gotta get the emoji. I guess that would be fine. So I'm going to save that, and here you can see we are now getting hello in their emoji, and everything is working totally okay. Okay, so now let's just run our front end. So I'm going to use npm run and front end. Okay, so now let me just hit enter, and let's just wait for it. So here you can see we have our local host, and here is our port. So I'm going to click on that, and it will now open, and here you can also see that hello right here. This hello is coming from this app where we wrote our hello right here. Okay, so I'm going to just close all of them, and also this one as well. So yeah, I guess that was it. So now first of all, let me just create the database configuration. So I'm going to just create like db.js right here, and the first thing which I'm going to do is that I'm going to get my mongoose from mongoose, and I'm going to also write a connect db, and it will be now equals to async. And let me just write my try and catch blocks. Inside the catch block, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just write console.error, and let me just write error. And also let me just render my error.message right here, MESSAGE. I guess that would be fine. And then we have to write process.exit, and let's just provide one right here. So we just want to exit out every single thing that is running right now. So then we have to just write await, and we have to write mongoose.connect method, which this mongoose has. And here what I'm going to do is that we are going to be passing the URI. So I'm going to just search for mongoose. Come on, not this one, mongoose. There we go. Okay, let's just go ahead and go to that. Now you might be asking like, Hossein, why aren't you using like a MongoDB Atlas or something like that? Well, we totally can. Like, you just have to copy all of that, and which I already show you in my videos, but that take a lot of time in the development mode, and I don't like to use what do we call it, MongoDB Atlas in the development mode. So yeah, and currently I'm recording, so I don't want to wait. And now I'm going to just copy that. Let's just right click on him, and not this one, right click on him and /to dark. I'm going to copy that. So now let me just paste it right here. Or you know what, instead of pasting it right here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create an env file. So .env, and I'm going to just write first of all a port, and port will be set to 5000. And I'm going to also write a database URI, and it will be now equals to this URI right here, okay, inside a quote. So I'm going to save this file, and now let me just use process.env and also mongo URI. Was that Mongo? Or I just write a database, so I'm going to just change that to Mongo. Mongo there, come on, not in lowercase, come on. Mongo URI. So I'm going to copy this, save this file, and now let me just paste it right here. So the next thing which I'm going to do is that once we successfully done everything, so we just want to log this message to the console, which is successfully connected to MongoDB or something like that. I'm going to also put a smiley face there, or you know what, let me just put an emoji of check. Now let me just save that, and now let's just use this database right here inside this index.js file right here. So before we connect to our MongoDB database, first of all, let me just import a few packages, and then we are going to be also importing some utils later, but not right now. We are going to be importing just a few of them right now. So first of all, I'm going to just import the path from path module, and I'm going to also import what we call an express from express.js, which we just installed a few seconds ago. Then we have to import the .env from .env, and also we have to get our cookie parser. So cookie parser from the cookie parser right here, and we are going to be importing the utils. So my utils will be currently we are going to be importing the connect db from let's just go ahead and go to the config db.js file right here, okay, and also let's just do our configuration right away. So I'm going to use like .env.config, and let me just execute that, and I'm going to also provide a port right here, and port in this case will be equals to process.env.port, or we are going to be using 5000. So in this case, either use this 5000 which is inside this .env file right here, or if that's not working, or if this isn't already available, then use this 5000 right here. You already know that. If you are coming from my course, so you already probably know all of that, but I'm just saying it anyway. So now let me just write connect db and execute that right here. Now let me just create my app server. So I'm going to write express, and now let's just execute that. Underneath that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use app.use, and I'm going to just pass my express.json, and now let's just execute that. I'm going to also use app.use and provide our express.url encoded right here, and now I'm going to just pass extended, and now let's just set that to true. I am doing that because later we would need that, and I will definitely forget that later, so I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to use app.use, and now let's just provide our cookie parser right in here and execute that. Underneath that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to listen to my port first of all. So I'm going to listen to the port, and I'm going to also provide my console log if it is working. Okay, so console.log server running on port, and now let's just render our port right here, and now let's just go back, and that's everything. And I wanted to make sure that everything is working just totally fine. So I'm going to just create a simple route right here like app.get, and go to the home screen and request response. We just want to get like restart send of hello world. There we go. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to use npm run backend in this case, and I want to make sure that everything is working. Import path is import. Okay, that's because we are not using, what do we call it, type module. So I'm going to have to change that to type and module. Okay, so now let's just provide comma, save that, and I guess this time it will work. DB is not defined. See, oh, we are not exporting that. We got a lot of errors in the beginning exporting for connect DB. That's just a start, baby. Let's just wait for it, and now let me just restart that, and I guess in this time it will not give us any error, and everything is successfully working, connected to MongoDB and everything. All right, so now let's just make a bit of setup for, or what do we call it, Postman. So I'm going to just create a new blank collection right here, and inside this collection I'm going to create one request, and it will go to nowhere, but I'm going to just write HTTP, and we're not going to be creating any variables because this is a learning mode, so we don't have to do these kind of stuff like blah 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 or something like that. This is a learning mode, so we are not going to be doing that. You are more than welcome to do that if you wanted to, but for me, I'm recording this course for beginners and also for intermediate and also for advanced level programmers. So yeah, I'm gonna just start everything from scratch. So I'm gonna use HTTP and localhost and listening to 5000, and now let's just hit it. I'm gonna just hit that, and here you can see we are now getting this hello world right here, which means like everything is successfully working. And I guess there isn't anything, but there is one thing, and I'm thinking, should I do that right now, or maybe I'm gonna do that a bit later? Not quite sure about that. Oh, I forgot one thing. We didn't work with Tailwind CSS. We just installed that by using Vite, but we didn't install the Tailwind CSS. So now let's just install that. I almost forgot that, so I am going to just copy that. And let's just go ahead. First of all, go to the front end. So I'm going to use cd and front end right here. And now I'm going to just pass that command which I just copied. So I'm going to right click on him and npm install d Tailwind CSS, post CSS, and auto prefixer. So it will install that, and then it will initialize over Tailwind CSS. And I'm going to also copy that from here, and that's successfully installed. So I'm going to hit enter to initialize our Tailwind CSS file. So that's cool. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and go to the Tailwind config file right here, and I'm going to just place whatever I copied from here. Let's just place it right here, save my file. And now let me just create one CSS file right here inside this, and I should go to the src. Let's just create index.css file, and I'm going to copy these components right here. Let me just paste that, and I'm going to also copy this h1 right here. Let's just go ahead and go to our app and remove that from here, and now let's just save this one and also run over npm. Let's just go back first of all, and also let's just run npm run dev, not dev, but npm run runtend right here in this case. Alrighty, so now let's just check it out, and it is not working. That's because I know why it's not working. We gotta go to the app, or should we go to the app? No, we don't have to go to the app, but we have to go to the main. And now let's just import that CSS file which we just created right here. So import index.css, and bang, everything is working totally fine, and that's looking amazing. So I'm gonna have to go back, and I'm going to also hide this sidebar from here. Yeah, come on, not this one, sidebar. There we go. And I'm gonna just force this page to dark, and that's looking amazing. But later we are going to also change this color, and I guess there isn't anything else left to install or to work with. So I'm gonna stop this recording for now, and see you in the next video, where we are going to be learning a lot about user, how to create user, how to authenticate the user, the admin user, how to delete the user, how to update the credential of the user, and all of that craziness in the next video. Again, Hussein, and